Hey. What's up, boys?
A millionaire couple is found dead in their home in a small island town in Essex, England. Their family and authorities originally suspect carbon monoxide poisoning, since they're still sitting slumped over in their armchairs inside their sunny conservatory. They fling open the doors and windows, but it won't help. The couple has been dead for days. Police search the home, but don't find any significant clues or identify any reasonable suspects. And they won't, not until the autopsy results are in. And while those results were definitely shocking, how it actually happened was like no case you've ever heard of before. Welcome back to Crime A to Z, where we detail cases and criminals from their very beginning until well after other reporting ends. Today, we'll be diving into a case that will make you want to throw out any preconceived notions you may have about anyone. It will make you call into question who it is that we should actually be afraid of. And before we get started, if you like how we present this case, we'd love it if you can help us out by doing a little clickety-click on like, and hopefully share and subscribe as well. We appreciate you. Let's go. Carol and Stephen Baxter were a loving couple living out their golden years in the seaside village of West Mersea, a town in Essex, England. The couple married in 2000 and had 2 children together, Elena, or Ellie, and Harry.
Dragons, eh? Sure.
Carol also had 2 other children from 2 previous marriages. In 2012, the couple came up with an innovative idea, one that they saw a clear need for, but no one fulfilling it. With the ever-growing popularity of standing, quadrant showers, they found that no one was making bath mats to suit them. Carol wrote on her LinkedIn page, "You probably purchased a mat to step out onto that isn't quite right. Your mat is either rectangular, square, or even circular, and you just wished somebody had thought of designing one, especially for you and your curved shower." That is where Casplash came in. Carol and Stephen founded the company, which sold curved bath mats that fit snugly around modern corner or curved showers, along with matching towels. Carol was the managing director, and Stephen, who designed the rugs, was a fellow director of the company. Stephen was also a top executive at Jones Lang LaSalle, a multi-billion-pound global real estate firm founded in the UK with offices in 80 countries. He was the global lead of operational risk and assurance. In 2015, 3 years into the business, the couple was working hard to promote Casplash and found itself in need of some technical expertise. Through a mutual friend of Carol's, the couple was introduced to an IT consultant named Luke DeWitt. Luke was a slightly weird and nerdy, but friendly young man. He created a website for Casplash and would continue consulting for the business on and off for the next 10 years. During that time in 2021, Luke's father died. The Baxters had sympathy for the young man and began to take the visibly lonely Luke into their home more often, even inviting him to their family's birthday meals. He was especially close to Carol, who he would accompany on walks and to the gym. They all became very close to the point where Luke described himself as the couple's adopted son. The couple was thriving, and by 2023, 64-year-old Carol and 61-year-old Stephen were self-made millionaires. They began planning how they would spend their golden years together, taking early retirement and downsizing from their 5-bedroom, million-pound home to a bungalow. Carol planned to start taking art classes, and Stephen planned to play more golf. But the art classes and golf would never happen. On April 9th, 2023, an Easter Sunday, Carol and Stephen's daughter, 22-year-old Ellie Baxter, had not heard from her.
That was a pretty good stream, man. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. That means the world to me, yo. Goddamn. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's awesome. God bless. That's sick. Thank you so much. I'll make sure to play some zombies later this weekend. I just didn't really feel like playing zombies today, and I don't want to force it. You know what I mean? Like, some days I just wake up and I'm like, fuck, man, I really want to play. And other days I wake up and I'm just like, oh, God. Today was one of those days I didn't even think I was going to stream today, to be honest with you.
Her parents for 2 days and became
so
worried.
The cookie crumbles.
She went to their home to check on them and noticed that the shades were still closed.
100 no perks is pretty dope. Yes, sir.
She knocked, but no one answered. So she went around the back to see if
pretty
she could
unique.
get a look inside.
One of the only people in the world to do that.
She could see her parents in the conservatory or sunroom, slumped in their armchairs, but not moving. Something with...
Have you ever seen The Walking Dead? Yeah, I've seen The Walking Dead. I've seen like the first 3 seasons of it. Da-da-dum, da-da-dun, dun, dun, dun. I gotta just go do the Slayer task.
Was definitely wrong.
I didn't
she
like
immediately
it.
Called Luke, who lived just a few streets down, and he rushed right over.
I didn't like it because it got
Hearing
too much
Ellie
into
shouting,
like human drama, and I wanted to see people just getting ripped apart by zombies.
Gave her a hammer to break a window and get in.
Is it really worth watching
Ellie
again?
Called 999, the UK's emergency line, and she, her partner, and Luke entered.
I don't know.
Ellie had her 1-year-old son with her as well.
I don't know.
On the 999 call, Ellie grew increasingly distressed as they entered the house. She tells the handler,
"What do I do?
We need an ambulance right now. She's been poisoned." And then, "My mom's not very well. They're poisoned, they're dead. They're frozen. They're so cold." With Ellie becoming overcome by what she's seeing, Luke takes over the call.
"Hi, I'm Luke. I'm the friend. They're just
right. Okay. Right. Are you with the patient now?
Combat task.
Right. Okay.
They're like they're sick.
You're saying there. So just to confirm, how many people are hurt?
Sorry, I can't hear you. Well,
how many people require help? Just to confirm.
2. I have to do one. So I need to come outside. It's their daughter you can hear.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So I'm organising help you now. Just stay on the phone with me. Just tell me exactly what's happened from what you know, please, just so we can all go to the best day.
Well, we just turned up to the house, and we hadn't really heard from anyone for about a day and a half. So we
I gotta grab some coins.
And their daughter got here first.
Go over here, blow me.
Sort of through their conservatory that they were sitting in their armchairs, not moving. And we smashed the window to get in.
I'm organising help you now. Just stay on the phone.
Thank you. Any chance we could wrap up soon? I need to go and be with.
I appreciate it. I will get. I'm trying to be as quick as I possibly can, so just so I can, make sure we've got that help organised. Okay, it's been really well. Okay. I'll leave you in the first responder's hands. Okay, all the best now.
Thank you.
No worries. Bye.
Emergency responders arrived, but it was too late. The Baxters were dead. Everyone was baffled. Both Ellie and the responders immediately suspected carbon monoxide poisoning, but the fire department quickly ruled that out, as well as any other dangerous toxins. With Ellie still understandably grief-stricken and distraught, police speak with Luke to try to get an account of what had happened.
What do I want to do?
And you say you last saw them on Friday. I got home just before 8, so that's when I left. And me and Steve were just talking about work and
790.
the business. Carol can't work anymore.
Yeah.
Past year, she's not been able to do anything.
Okay.
Alright, we'll do that.
So we're just having a chat, but he didn't really feel up to it and just asked me to go. So
That's fair enough.
I was going to come back tomorrow and
just check on them again.
to the gym and I'm used to checking
make
them
some
always
money.
because they wanted this weekend, Easter weekend.
Just left them to it.
So then Eddie called me this morning, and I was always. I think we're both a bit uneasy.
Yeah, as you would be. Understandable.
And Eddie put by first, saw the blinds were still down, immediately panicked. I was meeting them anyway, but Marcus called me and just given me that they're in the chairs, they're not moving, not replying. So I literally ran from home
to here to come check.
to here.
Okay.
And just as I got here, they just smashed the back window to get in.
Okay, fair enough.
Make some money.
So you last saw them alive.
Yo!
And have you seen them today?
Yo! Aaron! God bless. Thank you for the $10.85. Holy shit. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless. God bless. Here, I'm gonna take a toke just for you. Making that bank, baby. Yo, I appreciate that so much. Yo, Aaron, what map do you want to see me play next time? What map do you want to see me play? What game, what map, brother? Hey, brother. Cash stacks just a growing. Up to you, bro. Anything entertaining. Anything entertains. Anything entertains. I need like a suggestion. Chat, what should I do? You know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'll do? This is what I'll do. I'm gonna set up a poll on YouTube. I haven't done one of these in a long ass time. Let's see what we get. I haven't done a poll in a long ass time. Create post. Image poll. What should I do on my next? Let's see here. Show all. Pictures, save, BO1. You're the first stream I ever donated to? Yo, God bless. God bless, man. Appreciate you so much. Holy shit, that's wild. You're insane, brother. Fucking God bless, man. Much love. There you go, boys. The post is up for the next zombie stream. Go vote. Probably do that tomorrow or sometime this weekend or some shit, you know? Do it tomorrow night or something, you know? We'll get it going.
Did you go in to see them yourself? I have been in there, yeah. Okay. And I went upstairs and the paramedic asked me to get all Carol's medication that she's got a lot. Because sometimes she'll have various things over the years of the various operations she's had. So I don't know if any of it's valid, but I know Carol. That's right. Yeah, they like to know what people take. Gives them an idea of what they suffer from.
Oh yeah, I'm ripping a toke in honor of Aaron here.
Every morning, levothyroxine. But sometimes
ripping a token in honor of you. God bless, sir.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know she's taken it loads of times. No.
His statement about Carol forgetting whether she has taken her medication, leading to her sometimes taking it 6 or 7 times, was worrisome. At the beginning of July, over 2 months after the couple was found dead, an autopsy was performed. It revealed
God
the couple
bless.
had been poisoned. Stephen with a lethal dose of fentanyl, and
Woo!
Carol with lethal
Fent.
doses of fentanyl and promethazine.
Good old
Fentanyl is a
Fenty.
synthetic opioid similar to morphine, except that it's up to 100 times more potent.
Cheers.
In the UK, fentanyl is not part of a nationwide opioid epidemic like it is here in the US. In the UK, a prescription for fentanyl can only be obtained in very serious cases where it is warranted. In addition to the autopsy results, authorities also learned that a year prior to the couple's deaths, multiple tacks were found in Carol's digestive tract after being admitted to the hospital for severe abdominal pain. Based on that finding along
Yo,
with the autopsy results, a murder
Bro, chill, man. Yeah, that's way more than enough, man. I always say people shouldn't even donate to streamers, you know what I mean? So, I appreciate that. God bless. It's way more than enough, bro. Honestly. That's on Jesus.
investigation is launched. Police arrested the 3 people who were closest to the crime: Ellie, her partner, and Luke. Police said that the arrests were to gain comprehensive accounts from them, and that they continue to remain open-minded as to how the couple died. Meanwhile, they continue investigating. They learn more about Carol and the reason she was taking all those medications Luke alluded to. She had been extremely sick for over 18 months leading up to her death. She suffered from Hashimoto's disease, an autoimmune condition that causes fatigue, difficulty thinking, and more. The illness was debilitating and sometimes mysterious. She was on numerous medications and health supplements to try to combat her illness and symptoms.
1:09 a.m. for you.
But she
It's
struggled to
8
cope with
p.m.
them
for
and
me.
wasn't getting
May
better.
24th.
According to Ellie, her dad became lonely as a result, with her mom suffering from dementia-like or stroke-like symptoms, including struggling to eat and to stay awake, and sometimes unable to speak or properly open her eyes. But it wasn't for lack of support. Carol had accumulated a wide support network that was there for her every step of the
We're
way.
gonna make a quick meal
She had her
here.
family, of course, her husband and their 4
How
children.
much? Yeah, we're gonna make a
And there was
quick
Luke,
meal.
who, although only officially scheduled to visit for work
Watch
3
this
days a
video.
week, was there every day to help with her care. And there were numerous other people who made themselves available
Those
as well.
streams are always
Cheryl
absolute
was a friend and a huge support to
classics.
Carol,
The 1 HP
someone she could talk to.
99, bro.
The two of
That
them both
round
had the
99
same
is 1
disease, so they
HP
could relate
haunts
to each
me.
other. They regularly
Honestly,
messaged
low-key
back
talking
and
about
forth
it
with
right now is
support,
giving me the itch to
encouragement,
play it.
and a little tough love. At one point, when Cheryl found out that
Not
Carol
gonna
was
lie.
washing dishes, she sent her a message severely reprimanding her, telling her, "You are completely ignoring the rules. I had you down as a smart lady, I really did. Play by the rules and stop trying to do things. You are seriously ill."
We'll see.
Then there was Cheryl's sister, Ginny, who was a theater producer. Jenny not
It's
only
a-
supported
it's
Carol,
a
but also
three-way
supported her
split
daughter,
right now.
Ellie, who had
a
aspirations of
three-way
being a singer.
split.
She worked on arranging for Ellie to participate in a singing competition in London.
I vote for
Like
that,
Cheryl, Jenny became someone that both Carol and now Ellie could trust. Eventually, Carol also began working directly with Cheryl's doctor, Dr. Andrea Bowden, a Florida-based doctor who specialized in their Hashimoto disease. The doctor was a huge resource for Carol. Dr. Bowden would direct Carol's medical treatment, including
No, for
taking numerous
Shang, I
supplements,
know. I love
which Luke was a
Shang, though.
master at administering since he was there helping out daily. Carol
2 bars,
affectionately referred to him
Bird.
as her
Yeah, Bird's
mixologist,
map I would
with him
never
whipping up
play, bro.
smoothies that
Honestly, I
contained the
fucking hate
doctor-recommended
Bird.
nutrients. Luke would take videos of Carol to send to Dr. Bowden to
I
document her
hate
condition.
Bird.
Sadly, she seemed to be deteriorating rather than improving. And Carol had others in her network of support, including other patients of Dr. Bowden like Linda,
Like, the only time
who
we'll play
encouraged Carol
Bird,
to
bro,
do what
is
Andrea
like
says, or
doing
you
an
will have
Easter egg
other
on it.
problems.
You know what I mean?
And
That's the only
Marnie
time I'll ever
Pantry,
play it. Or doing
who
like
told
a
Carol,
first room challenge.
"I have my life back. Listen to Andrea.
Biggest
Stop
fucking
fighting it.
flop.
I do not know what you are going through, only that we are very similar, and you are stuck in the same phase I was 8 months ago. I was ill, and one day, I finally listened." With the ease of communicating via messages, all communications took place either via email or WhatsApp. Carol was, however, finally able to connect with Jenny via phone after only messaging for such a long period of time.
Only 700
Carol.
more
It's
fucking
Jenny.
logs to go, boys.
It's Cheryl's
The
sister.
High Elk here. Let's go.
Yes, so nice to finally speak to you after all these messages we've been doing.
The network
was
of those
creepy.
women and others helped Cheryl and her family work through Carol's devastating ordeal. With the autopsy results leading to landing the 3 possible suspects in custody, Police move swiftly to identify the culprit or culprits of the couple's
bigger than
poisoning.
both the boys.
And it doesn't take them long. They quickly hone
I would
in on
just say
several
she
findings that
intimidated
begin
me.
to make the culprit obvious. Starting with the will. Subsequent searches of the Baxter home led to the discovery of both opened and unopened fentanyl patches, and a will. The 5-part will suspiciously named the Baxter's dear friend Luke DeWitt as the director and person of significant control of Casplash, and explicitly gave him control of making all business-making decisions. It stated that when their daughter Ellie, or Elena, turned 30, the directorship would split 50-50, but that Elena could not remove DeWitt from his directorship. It also stated that a grant of £60,000 should be given to the company out of the couple's estate to be used for new ideas. That will was drastically different than the original will that the couple submitted to their lawyer 2 years prior. The original will stated that the Baxter's money would be left to their 4 children, and according to the attorney who drafted the original, the new will did not read as a legal document, and that there was no logic to how it was laid out. He said that it appears whoever drafted this document has no idea how a business is run. With the discovery of the clearly fake will, police released Ellie and her partner without charge. They had zeroed in on the person who has suddenly shifted to gain from the will, Luke DeWitt. And the more they dig, the more they find. With DeWitt leaving the Baxter's home at 7:55 p.m. on the Good Friday before they were found, that made him the last person to see the couple alive. Based on data from her pacemaker, Carol's time of death was somewhere between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. the following day. That meant that it took a full 15 or more hours for a poisoned Carol to die after DeWitt left the home. Stephen's time of death was not able to be determined. After DeWitt poisoned the couple and they were unconscious, he turned to Carol's iPad, which was open to her banking application, and transferred £6,000 from the couple's bank account to Casplash, the company he had just willed himself access to. When police arrested DeWitt, he had both unopened and opened packs of fentanyl patches right in his backpack. He had access to them since the death of his father, who had a prescription due to the pain he had from cancer. But when asked about them, DeWitt said they belonged to his granddad, who died a few weeks prior, and that he intended to return them to the pharmacy. They also searched his home. DeWitt had grown up in West Mercy, and he and his mother still lived together in the town, just a few streets over from the Baxters. The mother and son shared a bedroom. It contained 2 single beds. Hers had pink bedding, his blue. In their bedroom, police discovered even more fentanyl patches. They also discovered a box. It contained tacks, similar to the ones found in Carol's abdomen just over a year prior to the murder. Inside the same box were what was described as a treasure trove of medicine capsules, which DeWitt had opened and emptied out. Authorities speculated that the capsules were the medium DeWitt used to administer the tack to Carol in an attempt to murder her back then. They traced DeWitt's purchase of the tacks to right before doctors found tacks in Carol's abdomen. Authorities wondered how this person was able to pull off deceiving such a smart, savvy couple for such a long period of time. They got their answer when they confiscated DeWitt's devices. They revealed that all of the confidants, all the resources, all the medical advice Carol was getting was made up, as were the people delivering them. All of them. Luke DeWitt had fabricated them all. From Cheryl, to her sister Jenny, to Dr. Bowden, and 20 other distinct fake personas that would communicate with Carol and sometimes her daughter. They were all contrived by DeWitt.
Bro,
were
that's
supporters,
so
medical
crazy. That's so many people, like over 20 people, bro. I can barely be myself sometimes. Like, imagine trying to be 20 other fucking people, dude.
Fellow sufferers,
keeping all that bullshit
more.
straight in your head.
Some were intended to discredit Carol's real doctor. Others were created to solicit trust, and others were intended to isolate Carol from her children. As with any effective scam, the web of deception was elaborate and extensive. DeWitt had even created a WhatsApp group of fabricated fellow Hashimoto sufferers who would exchange ways of combating their disease. With all communications happening through messaging, it was all that the Baxters had to go on. They often attempted to connect in person with the people they grew close to. They would arrange meetings, but they would never happen, including one such arranged meeting that led the couple to drive 3 hours to meet one of the friends, and of course, no one showed. At one point, the facade became too hard to maintain through messages alone. Remember when Jenny finally made her audio debut? I'm sure it surprises exactly no one that the recording was actually DeWitt practicing impersonating one of his made-up female personas.
Or bro, like you just like say something this person shouldn't know, like you know what? Like bro, I wouldn't even. I don't even know, bro. That'd be so crazy.
It later wouldn't surprise the jury
can't
either,
even comprehend
which
it.
laughed out loud when the recording was played in court. Investigators would also discover another recording he had made to perfect that persona.
Hi, Carol. It's Jelly. It's Jenny. Hi, Carol. It's Jenny. It's Cheryl's sister. Yes. Oh, it's so nice to finally speak to you after all these messages we've been doing.
And while the impersonations sounded ridiculous, their intent was cold and heartless. The fictitious Florida-based Dr. Bobbin recommended remedies like kale and flaxseed smoothies, as well as generally advising Carol on what she could and could not do.
This guy pretended to be like 30 people, bro, to fucking murder this broad. He's pretending to be like a doctor, and then all these like other people that have this fucking disease, and like it's just wild, bro.
One piece of advice was for
I
Carol
don't
to
even
distance
understand it
herself from her
myself.
family. The fictitious doctor wrote, "Seeing family releases too many chemicals in the adrenal gland. It's that simple. Keep contact less regular." One of the
What?
final personas DeWitt created
I
was
guess
a
for
Dr.
money?
Alan Mandel. Mandel was the persona who recommended a liver detox drink that authorities believe DeWitt used to administer the final lethal dose of drugs. The treatment was made to sound so beneficial that even Stephen agreed to it, along with Carol. He warned them that the drink would not taste nice. Law enforcement had their man, but who was Luke DeWitt? According to those who knew him, he had no interest in his social life, played a lot of video games, and occasionally attended Comic-Con. After drifting between odd jobs at age 22, DeWitt reportedly started up a website design company with a friend. But, according to another friend, it was never a proper company, and all they succeeded in doing was creating a logo. Friends were
Oh,
shocked
just
to
to
hear
kill
of his
an old
arrest,
lady? Yeah.
with one friend incredulously checking to see if there could possibly be another Luke DeWitt,
Fucking crazy,
figuring they
bro.
could not be talking about the mild-mannered person he knew. DeWitt was said to volunteer at a soup kitchen and not have a violent bone in his body. His calm, reserved character was clear, even back during his already
Like
incredibly
that chick
polite
adopted
arrest.
him, essentially.
Look,
They
the
took him in.
reason we're here
And...
today, mate, is I'm going to have to arrest you, mate, all right? And that's on suspicion of murder. All right, as part of a police investigation, you've been identified as being a suspect in relation to the deaths of Caroline and Stephen Baxter, 27th and 9th of April, 2023, all right? Okay. So that means you don't have to say anything, but may harm your defence. If you do not mention when questioned, something you may later on in court, anything you do say may be evidence. That's so we can interview about the offence, enable any forensics that we need to be done, prevent
Fired, to
any
be honest.
interaction with any co-defendants, all right, and to prevent any loss of damage or any evidence. Yeah. All right. So
How
we'll
am I
take next
the
time
only
to
one
custody,
that
and there'll be a process from there, mate, all right?
jag?
Have you been arrested before?
No.
Never been arrested, no. The process will be explained throughout. Well, obviously, we're limited information what we've got at the moment, but anything further will be explained throughout the investigation, all right?
But one friend, although in agreement about DeWitt's non-violent demeanor, speculated his motivation may be rooted in his desire to get
Bro,
back
if my
at everyone
hair
who
ever
had
looks
written
like
him
that,
off,
I'd just shave it all off. Like,
perhaps
what the fuck?
striving to commit the perfect crime. The friend commented that DeWitt thought he was cleverer than most people and was sometimes frustrated that friends had moved on to better things. But while his
No child would
non-violent
be a
demeanor
one
and
facts.
unassuming character may have deceived everyone, it made no
Facts.
difference to the circumstance he currently faced. It was clear that over a period of at least 18 months, Luke DeWitt had systematically poisoned and brainwashed Carol Baxter, then viciously murdered her and her husband. And while Carol was indeed diagnosed with Hashimoto disease by her actual doctor, she was being properly treated for her condition. But once DeWitt became involved, he and his fake personas persuaded her to ignore her real doctor's advice, and her health began to decline. The personas convinced her that her poor health was caused by the disease and recommended various useless treatments. In reality, her debilitating symptoms were not due to her Hashimoto's, but were in fact due to her long-term exposure to the drug promethazine, which she was encouraged was good for her by the personas. It was determined to be one of the cruelest ways to poison someone, producing symptoms like dementia, Parkinson's, and possibly a stroke. As the investigation continued, authorities learned of the extensive lengths DeWitt had gone to pull off his devastating charade. Although DeWitt claimed to have a master's degree in computer science from the University of East Anglia, according to the university, they had no record of him having ever attended. And, in order to gain sympathy, DeWitt had lied to the Baxter family about his own health. He told them he had cancer. He would complain about constant headaches and fatigue. Ellie would later realize how that was yet another form of DeWitt's emotional manipulation and deceit. To pull off the 20 fake personas he'd invented, DeWitt had accumulated a whopping 80 separate devices. When he was arrested, he had 4 phones actually with him, and the remaining phones, iPads, laptops, and more were found at his home and job. They'd all be analyzed to uncover the elaborate
Apparently, the
web of
Impact
deceit
World
he had
Cup
spun.
is gonna live.
It wasn't until after
What do you
DeWitt was
mean?
arrested and Ellie stopped receiving messages from Jenny and Dr. Bowden that she finally discovered that it was DeWitt who was behind all of them.
Yo,
He had continued the facade
Aaron,
with Ellie for months after
with
the murders,
another
including
fucking
supporting her.
pen bomb, dude. God bless. God fucking bless. It'll be 2 hours, Storm Point, 2 World Judge, 2 viewer choice. Woo! Kings Canyon, imagine. Kings Canyon? Yo, God bless Aaron. Yo, W's in the chat for Aaron. Show him some love. Show him some love.
Her parents' funeral, even as he continued to correspond with her through his false
Fucking
identities.
legend.
She stated, "I was absolutely beside myself, confused. Who do I trust now?" And then there was the unthinkable. DeWitt had positioned a mobile phone in the Baxter's conservatory, then streamed live footage from that mobile phone to a home security app on his phone. It allowed him to watch the couple helplessly dying in real time.
Appreciate you, brother. Hello, hope everyone
Authorities
had a blessed
believe
day.
that DeWitt returned to the
Indeed,
Baxter
devil,
home
hope
after
you had a
poisoning
blessed
them
day
to remove
as
any
well.
incriminating evidence like the contaminated glasses containing the fentanyl. As he approached the Baxter home, neighbors observed him looking at his phone, presumably to check on the state of his poisoned victims. On DeWitt's
Have a
phone,
good stream, man.
police
You gotta
found photos
sleep.
of the
You have
couple
a good
slumped in their
sleep.
armchairs.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for the $20. God bless. You sound fatigued?
One of the photos was
fatigued.
time-stamped April 7th at 5:14 p.m., 2 hours before DeWitt left their home.
I am indeed fatigued.
They would be found in the exact same position as they were in that photo 2 days later.
Aaron, you're not absolutely.
So what could possibly have led such a
God
seemingly
bless.
non-violent person to commit such a heinous act against a couple who willingly took him in and treated him like family?
Appreciate that.
Since he had written himself into their will, transferred funds to his control, and even stolen some of Carol's jewelry,
Good night, man.
on the surface, it appeared that his motivation was financial.
I'll see you tomorrow with
But
some zombies.
authorities and
content.
analysts believe differently. Based on findings, it became clear to law enforcement that DeWitt's satisfaction actually came from the control that he had over Carol's life. He enjoyed watching her declining health and derived pleasure from deciding whether
He's
they would
just
live or
sadistic.
die. The couple's son, Harry, wrote about how he was saddened as he looked back at videos where his mother
this
was
guy
acting
killed these
strangely,
people.
and he could see DeWitt in the background, giggling and smiling, because he knew that he was the one responsible for inflicting her pain. And while
Dude,
authorities
that's
could not prove
crazy.
definitively how long DeWitt had been plotting to kill the couple, they speculated that it may have been hastened toward the end. Ellie reported that despite any close relationship the couple had with DeWitt, by the end of 2022, they were irritated by him. She said that he was showing up at their home nearly every day, and they were annoyed by his intrusiveness.
I need to check in on. I always pop in.
Yeah.
Because they wanted this weekend, Easter weekend.
Just left them to.
She said they had even discussed changing their passwords and parting ways with him, making a clean business break. So DeWitt may have seen the writing on the wall, since it wasn't long after that he executed his deadly
Good night,
plan.
Aaron.
As many sentiments as there were for DeWitt and his
That's
demeanor,
crazy.
they paled in comparison to the Baxter's described character.
Golden
Stephen
Nuggets,
Baxter,
just
his
catching
children wrote,
dubs.
"My dad was a strong man.
Bug
There are no
Waffle, my
shortcuts in
bad
life,"
brother. How
he
you
would
been? How you
always
been?
say. He worked every day of his
Might
life.
be doing that 1
He
HP
said,
challenge.
"My son
tomorrow,
just
so I
fitted
die.
perfectly in his arms like
saying,
my
Dad.
brother and I did. He lit up and he was excited for my new baby, a new baby he never got a chance to meet." And the definition of intelligence, a critical thinker and problem solver, and a person people could absolutely rely on. He sacrificed his life for us to live on. And when the days came where he could finally take time and retire and have time to teach me, a young man, naive and keen at the beginning of his adult life, it was stolen away by someone we all trusted the most. And about Carol Baxter, my mom was the
Sounds like
definition
some high
of the
school
word
bullshit.
love. And my mom was full of life, and she always pushed me to be better. My mom lost her freedom, her will, her ability to function 2 years prior to her murder due to her illness. an illness no one could help with or understand, because it was contrived by Luke DeWitt. Luke DeWitt was charged with 2 counts of murder, 1 count of possession of a Class A drug, and 1 count of theft. He denied the charges against him. His trial began in February 2024.
Yeah,
DeWitt arrived to his trial in a wheelchair, claiming he had a growth on his leg. He denied the prosecution access to his medical records to confirm his
Not my
injury.
problem.
They were certain it was fabricated to elicit sympathy for himself during a trial. Ellie herself briefly came under scrutiny again as well. Having accepted a loan of £7,000 from DeWitt after her parents' death, the financial exchange invited speculation. At trial, the defense asked her whether she was involved in her parents' death in any way. She replied that she was not.
Do whatever you
acknowledged
want,
that
man.
she
You
and
want to
DeWitt
kick his
were very
ass?
close,
Go
stating,
for it. But if you get your ass
"Luke,
beat, just
I
know.
honestly thought was my brother.
You're gonna get
But
clowned."
unfortunately, the evidence is stacking up and it all makes sense now. She confirmed that he
We
had
did
loaned
not
him money and
guilty with
stated
80
that
pounds. Also, he's
did get to a
guilty.
point after my parents died. I didn't have any money. My partner wasn't able to work after we were all arrested. All I'm guilty of is
I'm
loaning
not
my
guilty,
parents,
man.
she
They just
told the
put
court.
this fucking 2 boxes full
The
of
prosecution
phones.
outlined
On the
DeWitt's months
contrary,
of cruel and
these
systematic
10,000
torture,
messages between
drugging,
20 people
and manipulating
say
before
otherwise.
murdering the couple with a fatal dose of fentanyl. DeWitt's defense was to despicably claim that he was colluding with Stephen Baxter to deceive his wife. He said that he created the fake identities on the instructions of Stephen to give Carol someone to talk to and air all her grievances to. He insisted that Stephen was dictating the scene to deceive Carol, to make her feel that she was receiving help, and to convince her to take her medication. But his story fell apart on cross-examination, with evidence pointing squarely and solely at DeWitt. The trial lasted 5 weeks, and on March 20th, after 8 hours of deliberation, the jury unanimously found 34-year-old Luke DeWitt guilty of the murders of Carol and Stephen Baxter.
March 20th, 2024.
As the verdicts were read,
Damn, that was
Ellie
this year,
Baxter
yeah.
wept, and DeWitt remained emotionless in his
saying.
wheelchair. For the sentencing, the judge weighed whether DeWitt was eligible to receive a whole life order, which is a sentence where the offender would spend the rest of their life in prison without the possibility of parole or early release.
Yeah, he should.
In order to
That's
impose such a
poisoning, bro. That
sentence,
guy's
the crime
fucking
would need
crazy.
to be considered sadistic.
That's pretty
While this crime
sadistic.
was cruel and senseless, the judge was not sure that it could properly be described as sadistic.
Dude, he poisoned them over a long period of time, right? Is this judge fucking retarded? Let me poison your little daughter over a long period of time and tell me that's not sadistic as fuck, you know what I mean? Till they die.
So Luke DeWitt
I
was
bet you that
sentenced
guy
to
would
life in
be like,
prison
"Oh, yeah,
in order
no,
to
no,
serve
no,
a
you're
minimum
right."
of 37 years instead of a whole life
Christ.
order.
So, 37 years. The guy's gonna get out as an old man. Would poison a little girl? No,
While it has not
just
been
using it
reported
as,
which
like,
prison
an
DeWitt was
extreme
sent to,
point.
most offenders in his jurisdiction
Yeah,
are
that's
sent to
not what I
HM
said.
Prison Chelmsford, which is a Category B men's prison and young offenders institution in Chelmsford, Essex, England, built in 1825. The prison is operated by His Majesty's Prison Service. While the prison has a history of poor and unclean conditions, in the past 2 decades it has cleaned up its act. Its current issues revolve around organized gangs, violence, overcrowding, and rampant drug use, with approximately 42% of prisoners failing drug tests. Given that Luke's sentencing was less than a month before the production of this video, nothing noteworthy has been reported in that short period of time. We hope this video did justice to Carol and Stephen Baxter.
Good video.
It's the quiet, unassuming killers that roam among us that are the most terrifying. A detective superintendent from the Kent and Essex Serious Crimes Directorate stated that he considers DeWitt, without doubt, one of the most dangerous men I've ever experienced in my policing career. Given that DeWitt held on to his father's fentanyl packets after he died in 2021, it made authorities wonder how many more murders he planned on carrying out. What do you think? Do you also think he would have kept on killing if he had not been caught?
Yeah.
Please take a quick moment
When
to
a 56-year-old grandmother drove away from her Blooming Prairie, Minnesota home one cold March day in 2018, she left behind many things. She wanted to leave behind her nickname of Losing Streak Lois and become someone
He's
different.
there, Lois.
And along her way south, she'd try to become a new version of herself, one she called Stormy Liberty. But what she really was leaving behind was the murdered body of
She left behind her
husband
fucking
and
snail
more
trail.
questions than anyone could easily answer. And she
100
would
hours
find
on the
another
DOT,
identity,
damn
a
near
new
spirit.
her,
Let's go, baby.
by killing again. Join us as
Spirit.
we look into the strange case of
My
Lois
man.
Reese, who took a chance on
There's a
mayhem
kiss.
that led
See you, bro.
investigators on a multi-state
Goddamn.
manhunt.
But this guy's intro goes too hard for no reason, you know?
Before we begin, we would like to extend our deepest sympathies to the family and loved ones of the victims of Lois Reese.
Could I speak with a detective possibly? My name's Greg Oswald, or a deputy sheriff. We have right up to the point of missing person here. My business partner, and
These motherfuckers are getting paid, bro.
there seems to be something seriously wrong.
Okay, how so?
Well, I haven't been able to talk to him for 16 days, and neither of any of the employees. His home is 100 feet from where we raise these waxworms in Bloomington, just south of Bloomington. We're getting very strange signals from his wife, who has now, there are this past week receipts and checks missing out of a bag that our accountant is supposed to pick up Monday. He's supposed to be at a fishing tournament. He's been sick, and no one is supposed to call him. So we've been getting very strange. Well, this is my family's old farm that I'm still in business there. Dave and Lois have a farm. There is a history of this woman having $300,000 mistakes in her life recently, and gambling issues, some mental issues. I'm very leery about doing this, but now I've got 4 employees there. I'm in Montana. I live here, but I got 4 really upset employees. It's a Dave's missing.
Over the next couple of hours, members of the Dodge County Sheriff's Office and the Blooming Prairie Police Department arrived at the home of David and Lois Reese. It was a cold day with temperatures hovering around freezing and a light snow covering the ground. 2 of David's employees from the Waxworm Farm met the officers there, both worried about their boss and friend. Initially, the officers found the home locked, with a couple of lights on within, but no one would come to the door or answer phone calls to the numbers they had. Officers and the 2 friends of David Reese began walking around the home, looking into the windows to see if they could spot anyone. At the back of the house, they could see a light coming from a bathroom window. The window was at least partially open. Blooming Prairie Police Officer Daniel Peach was boosted up to the window by Corporal Jacob Peterson. Looking through the window, Peach saw an obviously deceased individual lying on its back, partially covered by a blanket. Both of the corpse's feet were sticking out from under that blanket. The employees helped the officers find a key to the house that had been hidden under the hood of an LP gas tank, and they made entry. Coming through the garage, officers saw that David's truck was still there. However, his wife Lois's 2005 white Cadillac Escalade was gone. As they entered the house, nothing looked out of place. The kitchen was clean and there were no signs of any struggle. A television in the living room was on, but the cable box had been turned off. The laundry room showed recent signs of use, and the door to the master bedroom was open. When they entered the master bedroom, they could see that a door to the master bath had been closed and a rolled-up towel had been pushed against the void at the bottom of the door to create something of a seal. They opened that door and found 54-year-old David Reese's body in the chilly bathroom, dead for at least a couple of days. Crime scene investigators from the sheriff's office arrived on the scene shortly afterwards. It was Friday, March the 23rd. Up until now, no one besides his wife had seen the man since the couple had been at their grandchild's basketball game on March the 11th. That night, according to the family members, the 2 had an argument, one that probably continued once they were home. Where was Lois now? Had she fled the scene, or had she become a victim of the crime as well, and was now in real danger? A BOLO, or Be on the Lookout notice, was sent out immediately for the woman and her vehicle. Examining the body, investigators found that David had been shot 3 times at relatively close range. As the body was rolled over, they found a single .22 caliber long rifle shell casing impressed into the skin of his back. The autopsy would later show
what the
that the
fuck
first
is
shot
this?
had struck him in the right side of his chest, striking his heart and piercing the left ventricle and atrium, then going through to the lower lobe of his right lung. A small 40-grain projectile was recovered from within the body. The second round had entered through the right side of his back, piercing his heart
288
and
more.
lung as well.
Let's go.
The bullet could not be recovered from the wound. The third gunshot wound was to his left arm, just below the elbow, with an exit wound an inch and a half below that. It was assumed that the third wound was obtained as he attempted to defend himself from the shots. A bullet would later be recovered from the wall of the walk-in closet in the bathroom. A shell casing matching the one found under David's body was found in the kitchen of the home, and a partially emptied magazine and loose bullets were found in the master bedroom of the home, along with an unlocked and empty fire safe. So, who were these people? David was a veteran of the United States Navy who had met his wife while stationed in California. The couple were married in 1982 and returned to Rochester, Minnesota, in the area where they had both grown up. David loved fishing and hunting and boating, and eventually opened a bait shop that he ran for a number of years while Lois provided daycare and babysitting services from their home. In 2010, David would close the store and go into the business of raising waxworms to be sold to bait shops around the region. By most accounts, the couple were moderately successful in their businesses, and they were the parents of 3 children and had a growing number of grandchildren. Lois would, however, develop a bit of a gambling problem over the years, frequenting nearby casinos and regularly purchasing lottery tickets. She quickly found herself over her head, and it created strain on the couple and their finances. At one point, a social services worker had to file an affidavit against Lois for allegedly stealing money from her own mentally disabled sister's guardianship account and spending at least part of it at a local casino. While no charges were filed, Lois was required to pay back just over $100,000. There is no record of her actually paying back the money that could be found. Authorities in the surrounding area and nearby casinos began nicknaming her Losing Streak Lois, and she became known to them for reports of her stealing money and items to cover her gambling habits. At home, it became standard practice for David to never bring receipts or business checks to the house, instead leaving them securely at the waxworm farm in the office there, in the adjacent barn to their property. And therein lies a big clue as to what happened. A handwritten timeline provided by the employee said that he had last seen Lois on Thursday, March the 22nd, when she had come down to help them put together a large order. She had left before lunch that day, after saying that while David was still sick, he was planning on participating in a fishing tournament that weekend in Spring Valley, Illinois. The next day, the bag, where all of the company's checks from customers was kept, was missing, and David did not show up at the sign-in for the tournament. This prompted the welfare check that led to the discovery of his body. But Lois was already gone, and David, according to autopsy estimates, had been dead for some time. Another look at the timeline says the employee had not seen David or spoken to him since March the 8th. And the last report of anyone seeing David was at the basketball game on March the 11th when the two of them had their argument. The very next day, Lois came down to the waxworm farm and told them that David was sick and would be staying at home and to please not call him. Investigators would come to believe that David had been shot and killed by Lois on the night of March the 11th. Had she been living in the house with the doorway to the bathroom sealed against the smell of a dead body, allowing the cold wind from outside through the open window to slow the process down? It seems that that's pretty much what happened. But it seems that during that time, Lois was living it up a bit. St. Patrick's Day had always been a big event for her, and she celebrated with gusto, always reminding them that they had a little bit of the Irish in them. And that year, for St. Patrick's Day, she was going to do it up right. On the day before, March the 16th, Friday, she headed out to get her hair done at a Fantastic Sam's salon in preparation for a night of hitting the casino. The woman who worked on her hair, Elizabeth Sorensen, would detail her interaction with Lois that day.
Can you tell me a little bit about
Losing
the
streak
interaction?
lows.
You told me that she was a walk-in, a first-time walk-in, and you did her hair. Just tell me about that.
Yep, she came in and she was going to be going out for St. Patrick's Day. She said that she was going to be going to Diamond Joe Casino, so she wanted her hair to look like Peggy Bundy and have it nice and big, and so we gave her a blowout and kind of curled the ends out and made it nice and big and put some back combing in it, and then she was going to continue her look at home and add some sparkles along her part line where we had parted her hair, and she was going to come back in and show me her hair, but she never ended up coming back in, so.
Okay, do you remember what time that was at all?
It was in the afternoon. Not positive on the time, but I want to say she left around 3-ish.
So it was sometime after lunch, you'd have to say.
Yep.
Okay. Do you remember, I mean, did she say anything else about going to Diamond Joe's that night or anything?
She had just mentioned that she was going to be going and
Fuck,
meeting
this
up
makes
with
me wanna
some
go to the
friends,
casino.
and that she really liked to unwind and gamble.
Okay.
And she was going to be all dressed up for St. Patty's Day.
Okay.
That night, she would make her appearance at the Diamond Joe Worth Casino in Northwood, Iowa, some 40 miles from their home. This was her go-to spot, her casino of choice at that moment. She came in and spent most of her time in the casino's restaurant. There, a waitress would remember serving her and would later speak to the investigators.
Sure. And then one of my other coworkers said, she messaged me, and at my break, I work at a school, and on my break at work, she said, is this that lady that used her husband's credit card the other day? And I was like, no, it can't be. And so and she's like, do you remember their last name? And I said, I only remember first names. It was David and Lois. And I was like, I don't remember, because David's name was on the card, and Lois was somebody else and the casino identified her as Lois, and when I looked at her ID, it was Lois. And so I opened up the news story, and it took me forever, and when I opened it up, it was her name, and so I said, I don't know, I called my friend, and I said, I don't know, do I call, is it, I don't know, you know what I mean, I don't know what any of the lists. I had seen news stories leading up to, something about Blooming, is it related to stuff in Blooming Prairie? Yeah, I had seen that the other day, but I'm not real familiar with the area, so I didn't read it.
Okay,
And
let me back up a little bit.
the night that she was in, I had questioned her. I said, table 51, she's paying with a credit card.
So you remember it was table 51?
Yep.
All right.
I'm like, she's paying with a credit card, and it's in a name David. And I mean, some names, do go both ways, but I said, I've never had somebody do that when they're alone, and it not be you know what I mean, me not know them.
Right, I mean, she's a female, and it's a male's name on the credit card.
My mom's taking my dad's credit card places and paid for things, so I was like, what should I do? And so I asked my supervisor, and we called security, and I called security over, and they said, well, do you feel comfortable IDing her, or do you want us to ID her? And I said, no, I mean, she's been really nice to me this whole meal. I don't have any problem IDing her. I just wanted to know the, kind of correct protocol. And so she did provide me with ID. And
okay, so you asked her for ID?
Yep, and she provided me with ID with her name.
And can you just describe her for me, what you recall of her?
She's blonde. She's not skinny, but she wasn't super heavyweight.
So medium build?
Right, yeah, and she's blonde, a dirty blonde, I would say. I don't. Okay.
The chick's trying to be nice. She wasn't too heavy, man. She was fucking huge. Come on now.
I think it's more of a dirty blonde, if that makes any sense.
She's 250. Yeah.
And she's not, she wasn't standing, but, when I saw her, I didn't stand next to her, but she was taller than me, but she wasn't tall. I'm only 5'2", so most people are taller than me.
And so do you remember about when this was?
Yeah, it was between 6 and 7:30 that night, I think. I know that she was in there. I mean, I can tell you, she sat and she had an appetizer, a salad. I mean, she was completely relaxed at a full meal, and I remember her sitting in there. She was in there for an hour and a half. I know I apologized to her because it was taking so long. And she was like, no, it's fine. I'm not in any hurry. And I mean, she's a regular. I've seen her in, I don't know if I've waited on her as much as some of the others. She typically sits at the bar in the wood fire.
Okay.
And so I've seen her in there, so I mean, she was calm and she wasn't rude or anything, so I guess nothing, no red flag, so it completely surprised me by this news.
So 6 to 7:30, and this was on Thursday night?
Thursday evening, yep.
So Thursday the
100%.
22nd,
Yeah,
yep, 100% sure.
Yep, because I only worked Thursday and Friday this last week.
Yep, and so she came in by herself?
Yep.
Was by herself the whole time, left by herself, never anybody else
I
with her?
never saw anyone else with her.
Okay.
The whole time, she never said anything about being there with anyone. She didn't like sometimes people will come in and I have another guy that comes in and his wife gambles and he just eats and talks to people.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he does. So she never said anything about being with anyone. And I've never, in the previous times that I've seen her here, I've never seen her with anyone ever.
Okay.
It's
And
always
you've
been-
seen her here other times before this?
Mm-hmm. She sat at the bar. She said she's always by herself. I've never seen her with anyone. That's why, I think that's what the major thing with the red flag with the credit card. Because I'd never seen her with anyone else. Maybe if I had seen her with her husband before, it wouldn't have bothered me. I'd be like, oh, he's off doing something.
Sure.
But I'd never seen her with anyone.
Lois would come back on March the 22nd and spend the night at an adjoining Country Inn and Suites property right next door to the casino. CCTV cameras would capture her checking in. She seems to be having quite a good time and even called an old friend, Louise Ashelon, to meet her at the casino the next day. Lois, at this point, had also gone to the bank that held her husband's business account and cashed all of the business checks and moved some money into her account, roughly $11,000. She was ready to roll.
Hello.
Hi, is this Louise?
Yes, it is. Is this Mike Anderson?
It is. It is.
All right.
Sorry I missed you. I just wanted to call you back, and I'm sure you're kind of aware what I'm calling about.
Yes.
And so I guess I was in the Albert Lee area yesterday, but today I'm not right at the moment. So if it's okay with you, if we can just talk on the phone for a little bit.
That would be okay.
Okay. Can you just start out, Louise? You're associated or acquainted with Lois?
I've known her since she was 10 years old.
Okay.
She called me on Friday about 11:30, quarter to 12, somewhere in there, and she asked me to meet her at Diamond Joe's. She said that David was gone, and
That's like such a shitty casino.
she wanted to spend some time at the casino. She was an avid gambler, and I go I live close, so I go maybe once a month just for relaxation. She's a high roller. I'm not. She came at about 2 o'clock, I think it was, and we sat at that one machine, the money machine where it flies around. It's just a 50-cent machine. So anyway, we stayed there for a while, and then we visited a little bit, and not one iota of a problem. You know what I'm saying? I think
when I go to the casino, I always play slots. They have the biggest jackpot bonus that you can get, and I just put in $5 spins. I'm putting $200 and just spin until it's gone. Or hit a big jackpot, whichever one comes first. Usually, I've won 10 grand and shit like that before.
She did say that David was gone.
Also lost
and it wasn't for the weekend.
I've won more than I've lost.
But he's a businessman, and he used to do trucking out of that
Just says one big
place,
hit. 100% of gamblers stop before the biggest one.
That was
it's a true fact.
Not out of the...
Trust chat.
It wasn't anything alarming either. Nothing. It was just...
So she said he was gone, meaning gone traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And that's not uncommon for him to do that.
No, because they did trucking, all that, it's that fish, it's a fish Worms like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
15 more.
So you guys spent some time at the casino that afternoon, and then...
Well, it was from, I actually saw her from 2 o'clock until like 3:30. I thought, when we were going to walk out together, I thought we could walk together, and she said, no, I'm parked over by the hotel. So in my mind, I just figured, oh, that's Lois. She wants to gamble some more and get her money back.
Okay.
You know?
She likes to gamble.
Obviously she does. And I know David wasn't fond of that. You know, they work hard for their money.
Sure.
And they are successful.
Lois, however, was not sticking around. She was heading out of the area, heading south for warmer climes and whatever the road was going to bring her.
Oh my God,
she would stop at a come-and-go convenience store and gas station on her way out. She grabbed a sandwich, topped off the fuel tank of her Escalade, and asked the cashier for directions. Hand-drawn maps later found in her car would show that she had picked a route to Fort Myers Beach, Florida, a place she and David had been invited to visit by some acquaintances back home, but never had. Apparently, it seemed like there was no better time than now to make that journey. Unfortunately, alone. The couple that had invited them, Therese and Rod Coster, were originally from Rochester, Minnesota, and owned a number of properties in Fort Myers Beach, Florida, that they rented out to vacationers, many from their old hometown. Their daughter, Bree Riva, who also ran the family's automobile lot in Rochester, received a call from a woman calling herself Stormy Liberty, asking for an address in Fort Myers for the Costers. Since this wasn't an unusual occurrence, she provided it. Lois would turn up at the Costers' home the next day. By this time, however, Lois's disappearance and murder of David had made national news. She was, at that time, still just a person of interest and was only wanted for the potential theft of business checks and money. Therese spotted her and recognized her.
She has platinum, almost white hair in a ponytail.
Tess says the woman was looking around at the rental properties. She asked if she needed any help.
Our eyes met, and I just, oh my goodness, my heart skipped a beat. It was Lois.
Tess knew Lois was missing after her husband was shot and killed at their Blooming Prairie home in March.
She shook her head and she said, wrong house, wrong house.
Lois took off in her SUV.
We were so scared.
Tess ran back inside and told her husband to call 911.
The sheriff's department on Fort Myers Beach was so worried about us. They came over and said, you guys have to be careful. Shocked. Had no idea. Both Lois and Dave are the sweetest people, or were. I don't know what happened.
Lois fled the scene, but decided to double down on Fort Myers Beach. She dug in and followed through on a plan that she probably had made during her long drive south. That $11,000 in cash she had worked out was probably nearing the end, as her credit cards were going to alert authorities where she was if she used them. Her plan required her to make a new friend, one that looked as much like Lois as possible, and she found one only a few blocks away from her encounter with Therese Coster. Pamela Hutchinson was visiting Fort Myers Beach for a few months after the death of her husband. She was in town to visit with a friend or two and, more importantly, to scatter her beloved husband's ashes on Sanibel Island. It was a tough time for her, and along came Lois, who had recently lost a husband as well. The two struck up a fast friendship, hanging out and going out for meals and drinks. Lois and Pamela were spotted on CCTV outside the Smoking Oyster Brewery on the old San Carlos Boulevard on April the 5th, together, having met just the day before. The two were roughly the same height and build and had similar facial types and similar hair color. None of these were coincidences, investigators believe. That evening, the two would return to the property that Pamela was renting, Unit 404 of the Snug Harbor at Marina Village complex. Late in the evening, CCTV footage would capture Lois leaving the unit, standing outside the door, emotionally overcome, possibly crying, and then going back downstairs, only to return in a few moments with a bag. Hours later, she would emerge again, carrying a large white trash bag, heading downstairs, returning again with yet another bag, and repeating the process all over again. She would then leave the property and not come back. During that period of time, someone claiming to be Pamela called the front desk and asked if she could extend her stay at the Snug Harbor for a few more days. The person, claiming to be Pam, then paid using one of her credit cards. Strangely enough, a different one than she had used at the time of the original check-in. The days were booked, and no one checked in for a few days. What no one could know, that inside the master bathroom of the place, Pamela Hutchinson had been shot and left to lay in the bathroom floor, covered with a blanket, much like David Reese had been in Minnesota. Medical examiners would discover the fatal shots had been made by the same type of .22 caliber pistol that had been used in killing David, and that the shots apparently had been fired through a bedroom pillow held close to the gun to muffle the sound of the shots. Pamela's purse was found on the counter in the kitchen. It had been rummaged through. Her cash, jewelry, credit, and debit cards had been removed. The hat she had been seen wearing earlier was missing as well. That morning, Lois would drive her Escalade to Bowditch Point at Fort Myers Beach, about a mile away, and abandon the vehicle. After walking back to Snug Harbor, she would steal Pamela's car and go to a local branch of Wells Fargo, wearing Pamela's hat and bearing her ID and debit card. She would withdraw $5,000 in cash from Pamela's bank account. Lois had now assumed the identity of Pamela Hutchinson. She would then travel to Ocala, Florida, about 240 miles north, to check in at a Hilton hotel. She ordered room service twice and rented a movie. All of the expenses were put on Pamela Hutchinson's credit cards. She signed as Pamela and provided her ID as well. The next day, April the 7th, Lois, posing as Pamela, would use her debit card to make 3 more withdrawals at ATMs in the area for $500 each. She would also pick up a new low-cost cell phone and register it under her alias of Stormy Liberty. It would be April the 9th before anyone would find Pamela's body in the bathroom, where the door had been sealed up with a rolled-up towel, just like the one in the Reese's home in Minnesota. Police put out a BOLO notice for her, and the U.S. Marshals began posting pictures of Lois Reese on digital billboards throughout the region, offering a $6,000 reward for information leading to her arrest. Lois's Escalade was found later that day. Lois, however, had already left the state and was headed west to Texas. In Louisiana, a license plate reader would make an ID on Pamela's car as it traveled west along I-10, but no connection was made at that time. There was also a report that Lois had won a $1,500 prize at a Louisiana-based casino and claimed it using her own ID. On April the 8th, Lois attempted to make a withdrawal from Pamela's bank account again at a gas station ATM, but the $200 request was declined. She paid for her gas and other items with cash and moved on. Later that day, Pamela's car was spotted driving through Refugio, Texas. Once in Texas, Lois headed to South Padre Island, a well-known vacation destination near the Mexican border. She would check into a Motel 6 there and hole up in room 227. There is evidence that she made friends with another woman again, but for some reason the murderous grandmother was unable to repeat the process that she had used in Florida. On April the 19th, a tip was called in to the South Padre Island Police Department from an employee of Dirty Al's restaurant that Lois had just walked in, looked at the menu board, and then strolled back out, looking as if she was waiting to meet someone. Police were dispatched to the restaurant immediately, but she could not be found. On a hunch, an officer decided to walk across the parking lot to check another nearby restaurant, the Sea Ranch. Lois was found to be sitting at the bar, chatting with folks around her. Officer Aguilar quickly called for backup. As soon as all of the exits were covered, officers entered the bar and made their arrest. Her crime spree was over. The good times had come to an end. She was taken in and booked no longer as Stormy Liberty or Pamela Hutchinson, but just as Lois Reese, a grandmother with a bad gambling habit and blood on her hands. She would be brought before a judge in Brownsville, Texas, who would hold her over for extradition. The judge informed her that she was wanted by both Minnesota and Florida authorities and would be released to whichever came to get her first. Warrants were also given to search her room at the Motel 6. Within, they found a trove of evidence, including a mix of hers and Pamela's jewelry, Pamela's hat that Lois had worn to the bank, and 2 pistols, including the .22 caliber pistol used to kill both David and Pamela, and a 9mm semi-automatic. Scissors and a roll of duct tape could be found as well in her personal belongings, perhaps to be used later in a replay of her earlier murder plot should she find another look-alike victim. Investigators would also find Pamela Hutchinson's credit cards among Lois's possessions, along with the key fob to her 2005 white Acura. The car was found near the Sea Ranch and was impounded by local police and sealed as evidence. Notes found within the room spelled out the route that she had taken from Fort Myers Beach to South Padre Island and included notes on how to get to the Sea Ranch and a time to be there. She had possibly already lined up another victim. Luckily, no one fell into that trap before she was arrested. Florida would be the first state to come for Lois, and she accompanied representatives of the Lee County Sheriff's Office, which oversees the area around Fort Myers Beach. Representatives from the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension were also on hand. Lois would be brought in for questioning. The woman, who had stayed ahead of all prying eyes and investigators for nearly a month, no longer seemed like some kind of criminal genius. She was just a tired, older woman who wanted her medications. She seemed to have no idea that she had been the focus of national attention at that time.
So basically, we're both here today to kind of talk to you, or maybe ask you some questions about what brought you to South Padre Island. And if you'd like to talk to us, that's fine. If you don't want to talk to us, that's fine. If you want to answer certain questions but not certain questions, that's fine. But more or less, I got some questions for you, and Mark had some questions for you. And that's the gist of what we're here, and that's the gist of the conversation I want to have with you. Okay? Like I said, my first name's Jay. This is Mark. If you have any questions, you can refer to me as Jay. There's no big deal.
I guess the first question I have is I want to get a lawyer.
Okay. That's fine. I understand you read your
It's not a question.
the other night, right? Did you understand all those rights?
It's a statement, you dumb bitch.
When they read them to you, did you understand each and every one of them?
No.
I guess my first question is I want to get a
again,
lawyer.
To see you know them? Okay. Do you have any questions about the next step that's going to take place?
Of getting a lawyer.
Yeah. You're going to be, right now, the state of Florida has an active warrant for you. I'm actually from the Sheriff's Office in Florida, from Lee County Sheriff's Office, okay? And the state of Florida does have active warrants for you for homicide, for grand
How
theft
does
of
the
a
treasure
motor
hunt
vehicle,
work? It's the same thing as gambling, but the odds are 60% that you win instead of 49%.
So
it's
you're
just
gonna be
better
going
odds
back
of
to
winning.
Florida to face those charges. After that case is done, more than likely you'll have some issues to deal with from back home, where that case is going to start. Okay, so like I said, nothing against me, nothing against you. You were nice to me. You're cordial with me. I appreciate that. You're cordial with us. So it's going to be a long road ahead of everybody. Okay.
We've used several lawyers in Minnesota before.
Mm-hmm.
That should be where I'm calling.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, that's fair enough, and that's something that you'll have to take up. Sometimes lawyers in Minnesota aren't able to practice law in Florida, so that's something that you'll have to discuss with your attorney. But if you can't, like I said,
I wonder if I should discuss it with my children.
Well, I know your children have been concerned about you. My detective and actually one of the representatives from Dodge County has been in touch with them, and I know your grandchildren have been really concerned about you too. So that's an opportunity. You'll have an opportunity to use the phone and talk to them fairly soon, I believe.
It's through the heist.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one question I have is, do my kids know I'm alive and I'm here?
Yes. I don't know if you know this or not, but your whole story has been national news. Okay. It broke last night. It broke last night that you were arrested and
Let's go!
alive and well, and that You were found by the U.S. Marshals and the local police department here. So,
Okay, so they know.
I don't personally.
There's
know
no
anything, but I
gamble
can tell you that
command
every,
because the gamble command
local
is like
media
super
outlet
shit.
nationwide
Sometimes
has
people
picked
would
up
win
the
and then they
story.
wouldn't get their points and I'd have to go do it manually. This way, when
And I
people
believe
win,
one of
they
the
just
investigators
automatically get
outside
it. You know,
with you guys
like
has contact with.
I'm not going in and fucking fixing
yeah,
people's
Billy.
points and shit like that.
No, that's
Billy.
my brother.
Billy.
Billy.
Yeah.
It takes way too much time. Okay, you guys can do exclamation point gamble all you want.
You get down there too, we can tell them some of the concerns that you have all into the bed and things like that, but they'd be better addressed.
The gambling is heist. The gambling are heist. You get exclamation point heist.
Yeah, no,
it's
no.
whatever, right?
I'm not gonna get better.
Heist.
No, they're gonna. This is just like a temporary holding facility until you
Heists
do
are the
paperwork
gambling.
process of
So
everything.
just do
and,
exclamation point
and
heist.
imagine with something
And that's
this big,
that's
there's a
all.
lot of paperwork we have to do. So
Okay.
just like the
Well, there's a
like
cooldown
the reason you
on
couldn't
it.
get your medication
Like
right
anything.
now is because we're executing a search warrant on the hotel and the vehicle, and like we can't walk into your hotel room without a judge letting me know that I can.
Right.
So, and that's what's taking a little bit of time when it comes to like getting the medication
Is
that you take every morning or whatnot.
cooldown. I don't know.
Lois
like
would be
5
charged
minutes,
in Florida
something like
with first-degree murder with a firearm, as well as a number of other charges involving theft of identity, grand theft of an automobile, personal property, and money. She was looking at a death penalty. In Minnesota, she was facing charges of first or second-degree murder for the killing of David Reese. Originally,
Rocky,
she
right
pled
there,
not
buddy. I'll be
guilty
right
in
over.
both cases and was extradited to Minnesota to stand trial there first for the murder of her husband. There, she would tell investigators that on the night of the
You're right there,
argument
bud.
after the basketball game, in a heated moment, her husband had grabbed the pistol and handed it to her, telling her to end her own life. She said that instead she turned the pistol on him in self-defense and fired 2 or 3 times, killing him. Prosecutors were not swayed by her statements and proceeded with the first-degree murder charge, along with a host of others including theft. She would end up pleading guilty to the murder charge and be given a life sentence. In Florida,
I'll
she
be
was brought
right
before
back.
the
I gotta
court
go
to
let my
stand
dog
for the
outside.
charges as well. Now, looking down the barrel of a death penalty, Lois once again decided to enter a plea of guilty in exchange for a life sentence. Lois's run had
Well,
ended.
if you read
and she
the
will spend the rest of
maps,
her
it'll say
days
something about,
behind
like, someone
bars
being
with
the
no
captain.
chance of ever seeing freedom again.
It will say some shit about them being captain. I gotta go fucking take my dog outside though. I wanted to piss in my room. Alright, I'm back. $100,000, yeah. 100,000 is the most. Fucking starving, man. Oh my goodness. Food. Food. Let me think here for a second. What should I be doing? What should I be doing? Wants to duel me? Accept. Ooh, nice one. Nice dub, brother. How many do I have to kill here still? 18. Bro, honestly, I'm just gonna start burying the bones over here. I don't even give a fuck. Let's take the XP. You should have more points. Gotta grind like a man. Gotta get him up. We gamble like a dumbass and lose everything. Hey man, I mean, you got a 60% chance of winning. The odds are in your favor. Just gotta get a little bit of luck. You know? Stop bragging. Can you figure out Rocky? That's blasphemous, brother. It's not a her, it's a him. Rocky is a dude. Chick with a dick. Man. I say chick with a dick because he's such a little bitch sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, my little boy. Say. Come here. You're such a little pussy, bro. Come on. Come here. I mean you no harm. mean you no harm. It's my boy right here. That's my boy. Alright, relax. Relax. This will be my last toke, brother. It's all the weed I got. You have to give me a second because I'm chilling with my dog for a minute here, brother. Your good apologies. There's no need to apologize. I'm just letting you know. I'm chilling with my boy here for a minute. You know, he's my man. He's my man. He's my man. He's my boy. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're such a good man. Oh, you're such a good boy. 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 You're the bestest of boys. Means he enjoys very bad cocaine. That's what that means. That's what that means. Okay, go answer it. Go see Sam. All right, Ghost. Here we go, brother. Cheers. An MMO. RuneScape's an MMO. Cheers. I think. Yeah, homie's got the little like glass. Dink. Cheers. Really quiet in Chester last year. Yeah. What is RuneScape pains me for real. Monza, if he comes around from time to time, he ain't around too much no more. What RuneScape is? It's an old game, brother. It's like kind of like Dungeons and Dragons and shit like that. He blocked you on Discord? Shocking. Wonder why. You and Monza didn't used to get along at all. Yeah, facts. Was one of the very first. Canadian crackers, suppose. This is your religion. Oh, yo, what's up?
Hey, look who it is.
What you saying, boss?
Bro, how you been?
Chilling, just streaming some Scape.
Lucky. I wish. Fuck. Damn it.
What you
You
saying?
lucky motherfucker.
What are you saying?
Not much, dude. I just wanted to smoke a couple tokes with you.
I don't know.
you're
I
down.
got no weed to smoke right now, unfortunately. I just smoked my last toke.
Did you?
Yeah, I'll chat with you though for a bit.
Okay. For sure. What's new with you, man?
Fucking just been chilling, man. Nothing really, like, fucking life's just boring. It's
You didn't
just
get
been...
that fucking Playbar job? Fuck it. Let's just see if he holds his end of the bargain, right?
Yeah. Time will tell, I guess, right?
He's a cool guy, man, and he's a hustler, so he's all over the place making money.
I feel
He's
that.
like a car salesman originally, like certified. So he's just been flipping cars.
He's like a Ricky
Started
car
with,
salesman,
like,
you know?
5
Certified.
grand.
Is he like certified by Ricky?
He's certified by like
I'm just being a
Guelph
shithead.
University.
I'm just being a shithead.
So no, he's a big guy. Unfortunately, he did some bad stuff and got put on house arrest. So I've been helping him a lot.
Damn.
He helps me out big time. So you know.
Yeah, for sure. That sucks.
Plus, I
Being
thought
on
he
house arrest
scammed
with
me on the car, and he was so honest to me. And I don't know, dude. The guy. Are you streaming?
I'll mute myself.
You know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, yeah, bro. I care about him a lot. So he's a smart dude. So you know, just in a bad spot. You know, you're not worth anything if you're not in the right place. You know.
Yeah. You gotta be in that mindset, right?
Yeah. That's like putting a Bugatti or like a supercar in like a garage and just leaving it like in a barn. To just rot.
Just raw, yeah.
Yeah.
You got a
Like a
taser
Mad
there? That
Dog
sounds like you were using a
worth
fucking taser.
50 grand in Australia, 70 grand in New Zealand, 25 grand in the States. Like, you just gotta know where your worth is, that's all.
Yeah.
Alright. So. But anyway, enough with the life jibber jabber.
What'd you get up to today?
What you doing on RuneScape though? Or don't tell me you're cutting wood still.
Nah.
Are you burning wood?
No. I actually just finished high alking all the wood that I cut. I'm doing a bunch of like Slayer tasks. I'm killing steel dragons. I gotta kill 2 more.
Nice. Oh, so you're doing Slayer right now?
Yeah. I got a dragon hunter lance, and I got my fire cape.
That was tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
How many tries?
I think like 3 or 4.
I did first try on RS3 because I cheated and I used a death touch dart.
Oh yeah.
One hit any enemy in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, yo, I'm getting my fire cape with that dart, dude. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
That's fucking
Shot
hard.
came out, I started shaking. I just went click, dead. I was like, yes.
Use it on Zuck. Should use it on Zuck.
Kill him on an RSPS like probably about 12 times on Bliscape, and like, dude, I even had the mod sitting like above the tile above me, just watching me fight this boss every time, dude. Chris, the moderator of the server, he literally sat there and was like, stand here, go there. Like, dude, I misclicked literally 11 times. I one click off and I died, and dude, killing takes so long.
Cheers.
My girlfriend's being really weird right now.
As women tend to be.
Yeah, she's just acting fucking really strange. I don't know why. I don't know what I've done. Every time I go out and do something, she gets all fucking weird with me. Like, I'm literally picking up wheels for my buddy's Mercedes. Like, fucking leave me alone, man.
Well, it's fucking wild, yeah. Women will be women, I guess.
I can't believe I portray as, like, a suspicious person. That actually hurts me, dude. Big time. Like, I don't have an interest in any other woman. I don't care if she's the most beautiful girl in the world. That shit's a trap, dude.
Yeah, it's always a trap.
I couldn't do it anyway. Like,
They call it a bird trap, actually. That's normally
my
what they
heart's
say.
with someone else and only that person.
They usually call it the bird trap.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, I would not fall for that, so.
Yeah. Trust me, I won't.
Even for $1 million cash, dude.
Yeah, fuck. I'll take the cash.
I mean, if I was allowed to, and I forced myself to do it, which I probably couldn't, I'd be all. You know what I mean? No, none of that. So, dude, I love the curl you have going in the mustache. In the corner. No, other one. It would be, yeah. You had like a nice little curl going, my dude.
Oh, yeah, I can curl them up like this, look.
You had like a little curl, man.
Yeah, I can curl them up like that if I wanted to.
Look at this guy. Jack looking styling, man. You got a great beard though, dude. I
Yeah, I
will fucking hand
appreciate
it to you. I'm jealous of that.
I hear that shit all the time, bro. When I'm walking around town, I hear that shit all the time. I just laugh. Bro, this next Saturday, not this Saturday coming up, but next Saturday is my uncle's wedding. I'm gonna go shave it all off. I'm actually 2 days from now. I'm gonna actually get it shaved off. Yeah.
Dude, before you do that, shave all your beard except for your mustache. I want to see what you look like with just a mustache, man.
Oh, dude, I got a picture on my phone somewhere here. Yeah, you already know I got a picture. You already know I got a picture.
Do that all the time, bro.
You already know I got a picture on there somewhere.
Boys will be boys, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
You already know, brother. Here, I'm flipping through every picture on my phone right now. Oh my goodness. Where is it? Don't tell me I deleted this bitch. What else you been up to recently though, my guy? Oh no.
Not much, dude. Fortnite's got the new. Okay, I'm not a Fortnite person at all.
Yeah.
Fallout. And, dude, I can't help it. I have to buy the Battle Pass. Dude, it's got power armor.
That's fucking hilarious.
Man. They got all, like, a Fallout-based, like, map, and, dude, it's sick. It's like Mad Max crossed with Fallout. Seriously, like, with all the cars and stuff, it's Mad Max, but, like, they got, like, little Fallout vibes, like, power fists and stuff. I got my first win. First game I played of the season. I got a win.
Oh boy.
4 kills, 62% accuracy.
Damn.
Happy.
Yeah, it's usually what my accuracy is like in Apex when I'm playing it is like 60% plus accuracy.
Yeah. Like, dude, I'm playing on a big screen, 120 hertz, 70 inch.
Yeah.
With a little reticle. Like the screen has its own little crosshair.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't even have to aim, dude. It's so nice with the shotgun.
That's crazy.
You just stick it right perfectly in between the character, and it just 2 shots with a legend. Oh, dude. I only play it because I get to spend time with my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, that's not, and I'm just trying to get good at it. Plus, the old music fest reminds me of the Guitar Hero days.
Bro, I can't find that picture. No. That's fucking unfortunate, man.
Can't find it?
No. It's unfortunate. Damn. Oh, I found it. Let's go.
Did you?
Yeah. Here. Chat.
Man, I can't find my SSD. I put it somewhere and I can't find it. I'm stressing hard.
I sent it to you.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah, I do look like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that suits you.
No.
You look handsome, dude. My goodness, you got like the fucking cowboy mustache going, dude. You're missing your revolver on the side of your ma'am. Walking in with your spurs. Dude, wow. That's crazy. That fucking wow, man. It's like every single like way you could do your beard just would suit you.
Yeah. With my glasses on or off too, you know? I was like, I can be like 7 different people, Eric. It would be 7 different people, depending on how hot, like, long I grow my hair and shit. You know what I mean? I could be like 12, 20 different people.
That's true.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just me.
Yeah, I'm just Jesus.
That's great, dude. I love it. That fucking suit you. If only the stream could see.
Yo, stream, you guys want to see my fucking... Oh, God. Yeah.
Excuse me.
This was me. With just the stash.
Hello, internet. How's Rocky doing?
Oh, he's great.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Rocky's fucking great. He's been fucking... Hey, he's seen his girlfriend for the first time in like 3 months the other day, bro. And he's just like hopping up on her, just like trying to hump her. And then she just fucking turned around and bit him. Like just give him a playful little nip. And he fucking wouldn't go for near her for the rest of the day. It was hilarious. It's like you overstepped your bounds, boy. Should just waited.
Or she didn't hump him.
Yeah.
For dominance.
Yeah, dominant. She usually does. She usually does. Yes, sir. Well, I'm gonna let you go, brother.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
It was good catching up with you, though, as always. I just dropped my fucking phone. There we go. It was good catching up with you, homie.
Yeah, buddy, you take care, right?
Yeah, next time I'll make sure I have some weed. We'll rip it talk.
Yeah, man. Next time,
Alright,
give
bro.
me a shout. Okay, right?
Yeah, next time I'll make sure I have some weed. We'll rip it talk.
Oh.
Peace. Sick. Let's fucking fire. My bad, chat. My bad. Alright. Homeboy, you wanted some fucking true crime? I'll find you something, bro. Anything not new? None that we haven't watched. Eee. Dun 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 dun.
A uniformed man visits the hospital claiming to be a firefighter suffering from severe back pain as a result of an injury he received while on duty. Lifting a 120-pound ladder off the back of a truck, he was given a hospital gown and treated with painkillers that were administered through an IV. While he was asleep, the Department of Forestry dispatched Captain Oldegg to the hospital to identify this man. Captain Oldegg observed his uniform and badge, which were being stored by the hospital staff, and he immediately determined that the uniform was fake. He then took note of the name that this man provided the hospital staff and went on his way without speaking directly to him. Over the following week, Oldegg followed a hunch and visited several other hospitals and pharmacies throughout 5 California counties. He learned that this man had used 38 different aliases, 13 different social security numbers, and 8 dates of birth. He would fill out workers' comp forms using these aliases, claiming that he was a firefighter who was hurt on duty, which would get him free painkillers. The Northern California Fraud Investigators Association determined that this scheme allowed him access to over...
I actually remember this. We're not gonna watch this. Psych, pulled one on you. My bad. So I'm just 20-minute personal best coming. Damn, bro. That's fucking crazy. For what? For what though? What? What?
When a young mother is found dead in an ordinary suburban home, all eyes turn to the strange behavior of her husband. Police launch an interstate investigation in a bid to find answers, only to discover that the truth is much closer than they think. In fact, every moment of this young couple's lives can be found hidden in their own house, concealed in an elaborate surveillance system that's only now about to give up its secrets.
What we saw was some of the most shocking footage that I've ever seen in my entire law enforcement career.
This is the story of a young woman who thought she had found love, but instead found evil.
Wasn't there a game like Mario Sunshine or something? That game was so hard, unnecessarily hard as a kid. I remember watching my buddy play it and I was just like, nah.
Before we begin, we would like to send our deepest sympathies to the loved ones of Brandy Solenza, whose life was taken far too soon. It's Saturday, April the 7th, 2018. The Johansson family are spending the morning relaxing in their Palm Coast, Florida home. While 36-year-old Keith sleeps in, 25-year-old Brandy chats to her 6-year-old son Ryland as he eats the cereal she's prepared.
Yeah,
I never had that type of cereal.
Ryland, friends say, is the center of Brandy's universe. She tells him that later that day they're going to the Flagler County Fair
My buddy
with
was
Brandy's
insanely good at
sister.
it.
Ryland is over the moon. He tells his mother that he loves her and then skips off to watch TV. A happy family life is what Brandy always dreamed of. She was just 21 when she met her husband Keith in the spring of 2014. He was 32, a considerable age gap. But Brandy wasn't your typical 21-year-old. Already a single mom to Ryland, Brandy was looking for a stable relationship with a man who could help her create a loving home for their son. And in Keith, she felt she had found that person. In 2017, the couple got married, and by January of 2018, they had moved into the ranch-style bungalow at 23 Felter Lane, just a short walk from the beautiful beaches of Palm Coast.
You know, even though it's cold, it's still beautiful to be here.
They were just this big, happy family that went out and did family activities, and everything was just amazing. Brandy's son, who was not Keith's son, according to Keith, referred to Keith as Daddy.
At 10:30 a.m. on the morning of April the 7th, visitors from a local church stopped by with some reading material. Brandy takes the pamphlets and chats with them at the door. She's friendly and welcoming, as she is with everyone who knows her. After several minutes, she waves them goodbye and heads back inside. Just minutes later comes a call through the Flagler County Sheriff's Department. It's Brandy's husband, Keith.
Okay, what's going on there?
I was in the shower. I heard gunshots. And I think my wife shot herself.
What happened?
I was in the shower, and I heard some gunshots.
Okay.
I think that my wife accidentally shot herself.
Accidentally.
You see her?
Yes.
All right, where did she shoot herself?
Looks like in my bedroom.
Where did she shoot herself bodily?
I don't know, I can't see it.
What do you actually see?
She's laying down right next to the bed.
Where is she bleeding from anywhere?
I don't see it. I don't see blood.
Okay. Do you see a gun on the floor or anything?
Yes, I ain't moving it.
What kind of gun?
It is a 9mm.
Okay, do you see any head wounds? Did she shoot herself or anything in the head? I need somebody to face her.
Alright, you alright.
Do you see anything in the head?
No.
Alright, do you see any, have you tried waking her up? Do you see any part of her body where she got shot that you can possibly apply pressure?
I can't see anything.
The operator tells Keith to begin performing CPR. Keith is flustered and tells the operator that he can't. Clearly finding this strange, the operator persists, asking him why he can't render her assistance. Keith says that his feet are wet and he's afraid he'll slip on the floor and hurt her. He then says that he can't access his wife because she is surrounded by stuff.
We just got married, man.
I got you. When did you guys get married?
Last year, but we were going to renew our wedding in 2 months. Please tell me that you guys can save her.
Officers find the body of 25-year-old Brandy lying on the floor of the master bedroom, already deceased. A 9mm handgun lies beside her. A quick examination of the body reveals that she had suffered 2 gunshot wounds to the chest. Sitting in his bedroom is Brandy's 6-year-old son, still watching TV. He's unaware that he just lost his mother. Ryland is escorted by police officers out of the house and to one of their vehicles, where a police officer will wait with him until the family members can arrive.
How long were you in the shower, what'd you say?
Maybe 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I thought it was a
How many
balloon.
shots did you hear?
2.
You heard 2?
And I thought it was a balloon at first. And I ran out there and seen her laying there going, so I called you guys immediately.
Detectives now move through the house room by room. They find numerous weapons, a 12-gauge Winchester shotgun, a Springfield Armory 6.56 rifle, a 9mm Ruger with magazine, and a .45 caliber Springfield Armory handgun. There is no sign of a violent altercation that might have taken place. The house appears orderly and generally like the typical family home. There are a couple of things that stand out, though. Keith had told the 911 operator that he was in the shower at the time of the shooting, but the floors in both bathrooms are dry, as is Keith's hair.
Scratches on him? Yeah.
He's not wet.
No.
So he was in the shower.
Yeah.
And there's something else. Someone has wired an elaborate video surveillance system throughout the house and the exterior of the property. Every room inside the home and every square inch of the property outside are being monitored 24 hours a day.
So there's a camera right above your head. I see a couple right in front of you above you. And there's a few, I don't know if they're active inside the house as well, so.
To officers, the setup seems excessive even for the most security conscious of citizens. But in terms of their investigation, it's invaluable. But officers are about to be disappointed. Every room in the house has at least one camera, other than the master bedroom. And when detectives ask Keith for access to the footage, he says he doesn't know where it's stored or how to access it. In the hours that follow, Keith is taken to the station and interviewed. Police ask him to walk through everything he knows, step by step.
I knew that something was wrong, that she had accidentally got shot, but I didn't know where.
Who do you think accidentally shot her?
Not me. Herself. I figured she was trying to, how it looked to me, is she was maybe move them, or trying to move them, or I don't know. I wish you guys would tell me.
As for why she may have shot herself, Keith tells police that he can't rule out the possibility that it was an attempt to end her own life. Overall, though, he feels pretty certain that it was an accident caused by Brandy mishandling the weapon. Detectives ask Keith about the state of his marriage.
How would you describe your relationship?
The best one that I've had yet. I mean, she was everything that I wanted her to be. Everybody has their problems here and there, of course. But it was, she woke me up, she made breakfast, she had my back, And that's very rare. She had this online thing, you know what I mean?
The way that guy said bang.
Whoopee. Who cares? You didn't do nothing physical.
But he doesn't show any emotion when he talks of her or the accident that ended her life. To detectives, the story Keith tells makes no sense at all. It's likely near impossible that anyone would shoot themselves twice, either by accident or in an attempt to take their life. That night, police interview Brandy's 6-year-old son, Ryland. While Ryland did not witness the death of his mother, he tells detectives something chilling. He says that regularly he would hear his mother screaming in her bedroom, and it was the same kind of screaming he had heard that morning. Meanwhile, police have learned that surveillance footage from the house is stored at a California-based company called Arlo. A warrant is issued to acquire those recordings. On April 9th, 2 days after the shooting, medical examiners perform an autopsy on Brandy. Curiously, a rubber bullet had caused the gunshot wound to the center of her chest. Rubber bullets can cause injury and severe pain, but they are generally used to disable or deter a person and are rarely lethal. The second bullet was to her right breast. That is the one that killed Brandy. The wound had been inflicted from a 9mm bullet, so powerful it had exited her body and struck the nightstand, then penetrated the drywall beside it. Police turned to Keith for answers on why he had rubber bullets in his gun, and his explanation gives police another small glimpse into Keith's strange behavior. He tells them that he has a habit of loading his weapon with 2 non-lethal rounds of rubber bullets, followed by a lethal round. He's been doing that for at least the last 2 years, he says, so that he can use his weapon on an intruder without killing them. Most importantly, the report reveals the approximate distance from which both guns were fired. One shot had been made from a gun held at close range. The other had been shot from a distance of 3 feet or more. Therefore, Brandy could not have shot herself. The medical examiner rules the cause of death officially as homicide. Keith Johansson has just gone from grieving husband to prime suspect. Before they issue a warrant for his arrest, however, police want to see the surveillance footage from the house. It has taken 3 weeks to arrive after repeated attempts by the company to evade the search warrant. But on April the 27th, they finally accessed the surveillance from 23 Felter Lane. First to view the footage are Detective Nicole Quintetti and Detective Sergeant George Christokopoulos. The footage they have requested is from April the 5th until April the 7th. What they see leaves them speechless.
You up, man. Like bad. It's only a matter of time.
The footage documents a woman being subjected to severe domestic abuse.
So much that you're gonna threaten to kill yourself, and you're gonna spend the rest of your days in an institution. I could throw you there tomorrow. You did? No problem.
On April the 5th, the couple spend the evening in the master bedroom where, for about 5 hours, Keith compulsively smokes meth from a glass pipe. He launches several verbal attacks on his wife.
Yeah, you push a person to either beat or kill you because you're...
He leans into her face and berates her, demeans her, and calls her vile names, and threatens her life while she cowers on the bed, quietly weeping or staring at the wall. At one point, she curls into a ball. Keith is convinced that Brandy is cheating on him, even if only in her mind. He describes in graphic detail the sadistic violence he would like to carry out on her, and how much he would like to kill her.
What? That dude's crazy. I mean, he says smoking meth, so...
Too many chances, man. Too many. Show a cop these videos. I'd rather be in prison than to call one of my homies and make sure you both die.
Why?
Because you're... I gave up everything on a chance. But somebody lied. Cheats. Does this and that. You know what? I'm gonna leave it here to haunt you. Maybe one day you will.
After more than 5 hours of this, he can be seen reaching up and snatching the camera off the wall. It's the evening of April the 5th. 2 days later, Brandy would be killed in that very spot. Footage from the day that she is killed shows Brandy chatting with Ryland, him saying that he loves her and her saying it back.
I love you. No, I do.
At 10:33, Keith is seen picking up his jeans from the living room floor and speaking to Brandy in an argumentative tone. A minute later, Brandy reappears, crouches down, and then goes back to the master bedroom. These were the final moments of Brandy's life. It seems too coincidental that they are hidden from the watching eye of a camera. She is killed in the space of just 3 minutes. By 10:37, Keith is on the phone to 911. Could an argument have escalated in such a short period of time? It seems unlikely, and police are about to uncover more evidence of just how cold Keith truly is. From the moment he calls 911, Keith suddenly reappears in the living room. He can be heard telling the 911 operator that he's checking for injuries on Brandy. Instead, he is scrambling around, hiding drugs and drug paraphernalia.
Heard gunshots? Did I take my wife's shot or something?
Okay, are you applying pressure to that wound?
No, I can't reach her like that. I'm wet. I'm sliding on my floor.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. Just taking a shower. Okay.
His wife is dying alone in the bedroom, and he is preparing the house for police to ensure he's not facing drug charges. Detectives now feel they have enough evidence to prove in a court of law who was responsible for Brandy's death. 3 weeks after the investigation began, Keith Johansson is arrested and charged with second-degree murder. In the days following Keith's arrest, detectives, along with Assistant State Attorney Jason Lewis and Assistant State Attorney Jennifer Dunton, watched the videos again. The scales of the verbal abuse, physical intimidation, and blatant threats to end her lives moves them to make a bold decision. They decide to prosecute Keith for first-degree murder.
It gave a very clear picture that Keith Johansson had it in his mind days before that he was going to kill Brandy Salenza. He said it several times on video that he needed to leave the home so that he wouldn't kill her. She needed to kill herself so that he wouldn't kill her.
I'd rather kill you than go back to jail.
The state prosecutors believe that when the jury sees Keith remove the camera from the bedroom, how quickly he executes the murder, and his behavior during the 911 call, they will believe that the murder of his wife Brandy was
Homies just
premeditated.
forgets he has
But
like
Keith
cameras
is
in his
about to
house,
come
he's
up
so
with
high.
all new stories as to what
retard.
really happened that morning. While Keith awaits in the county jail, he makes a new confession to police. This time he says he believes it was a neighbor who shot Brandy, the same neighbor who caused him to begin keeping a weapon in his nightstand. This confession is shot down in flames when he's reminded that they have footage from the surveillance cameras that proves no one else entered the house. Several months later, he changes his story again. He tells police and his mother during a phone call from the jail that he believes it was Ryland, Brandy's 6-year-old son, who shot Brandy. The audio from the call is not clear, but the detective in the video explains it.
Investigator Quinn Terry, I know that was a quick call. What was of evidentiary value in that call between the defendant and his mother about what he said?
They were talking about his stepson, and Mr. Johansson says, well, what if he did it? And obviously the mother's response was, he's 6.
Right, okay.
Keith maintains that he never hurt Brandy, that he is innocent. Not one, not even his parents believe him. Perhaps because on top of the evidence, they know Keith's past. Extensive details about his past have not been disclosed, but we know enough to get a good picture. Over the years, Keith had been diagnosed with several different mental illnesses. Mental illness alone rarely leads to violence, but in Keith's case, paranoia and anger issues had collided to a disastrous effect. As a teenager, he spent time in juvenile detention. A long-term relationship with methamphetamine had given him the finishing touches to his personality. He was paranoid, jealous, controlling, and someone with a violent temper. By the time Brandy crossed paths with him, Keith had already been charged with domestic violence by a woman who had a daughter with him. She had kept the baby secret in order to protect herself and the child. In the early days of his relationship with Brandy, Keith had asked her to connect with the woman over Facebook and then ask her who the father of the child was. Brandy did as asked, but the woman became suspicious and blocked her. Later, Keith was charged with violating a protective order when he and Brandy were seen waiting in a car at the woman's work and videoing her with their phones. At some point, Keith had found work as a roof contractor, but a supposed back injury led to a settlement that meant he could essentially stop working altogether. His drug use escalated. He became hypervigilant and developed a persecutory delusion that led him to carrying a weapon at all times, and later convinced Brandy to do the same. He forced Brandy to give up her job. Once at Felter Lane, a neighbor had visited the house. Thinking that he had an agenda, Keith began keeping a gun on his nightstand. He began regularly visiting a local shooting range for target practice, and he rigged up a multi-camera setup to enable him to see who was on the property at all times, and when he wasn't home, what his wife was doing. But watching her wasn't enough. He couldn't see what was going on in her mind, and became convinced that she was having fantasies about other men. And despite her never being out of eyeshot, he believed that she was physically cheating on him. In his mind, she likely deserved to die. He certainly never shows any remorse.
That dude's fucking nuts.
In the lead up to the trial, Keith makes one last-ditch effort to save himself. He's mentally ill, he claims. He can't remember what occurred on the day of the murder and therefore is unfit to stand trial. By now, Keith has established himself as a compulsive liar, and he is declared competent to stand trial. On October the 26, 2021, Keith's murder trial began with opening statements by Assistant State Attorney Jennifer Dunton.
I've got to get away from you, or I am going to kill you. You have to tell me when you're masturbating when I'm gone, or I will kill you. Those were the words of this defendant.
That's wild, bro.
Before his wife, Brandy Salenza, was found shot and killed in their home, in their master bedroom.
Those
threats to kill were captured on their home surveillance system. on a camera in their bedroom on April 5th.
Defense attorney Gary Wood then spoke on behalf of Keith.
Ms. Salenza was killed in self-defense, and you're going to hear instruction about what self-defense is and justifiable homicide. It's a very tragic case, and I'll explain what happened and what evidence you will hear, both through cross-examination of the state's witnesses and from testimony that we'll also provide on our side.
After 3.5 years of endless lies to police and his parents, Keith Johansson now presents the jury with a whole new story. This time, in a voice devoid of any emotion, he explains that he did indeed shoot his wife, but it was in self-defense. In this new version of events, he and Brandy had been smoking meth for 10 days straight. At some point, he had felt sick and stopped, but she continued, finishing the last gram on her own. By this time, she had been awake for several days straight. He describes to the jury how he heard his name called, only to find himself staring into the barrel of a gun and his wife saying that he was not her husband. She was looking at him but not seeing him, and told him he was made of plastic. Terrified, he grabbed a gun for himself, walked toward her, and tried to disarm her, but she wouldn't drop the gun, so he pulled the trigger.
Well, I woke up and I went to the living room to retrieve my pants because I was thinking about him taking a shower. Then
seems so
I
true.
pretty much was in the bathroom,
100%.
took off my pants, getting ready to step into the shower, and I heard her say "boo," which is the nickname that she uses for me. So I go out there, and she had a weapon in her hand. She said that I was not her husband and I was plastic, and I had walked forward to her, trying to disarm her, and, well, I had grabbed my gun, the one that was in the box. Okay.
Mechanic?
Yes, correct. Okay. Then I started walking towards her, trying to, say, hey, man, and trying to bark orders and for her to drop it and to disarm her. And then she would not do so, so I got closer and I tried to grab it from her, and she lifted it up and a round went out of my gun on her. Then she cocked and swung as I'm retreating, and another round I pulled off because she was pointing a loaded weapon at me.
So how many times did you fire the canic?
Twice, sir.
Twice, okay. And where were you at and where was she at when the first shot went off?
We were almost face to face.
Okay. And
because I was trying to reach down and get it.
So using the bed as a reference, where were you at in reference to where were the two of you at in reference to the bed?
Well, how it is, sir, is there's a space, there's a gap between our bed and the wall. And there's a dresser right over here. So we were, man, I wish I had a diagram and I would show you, but, so here's the nightstand. She was right here and I was right here.
He also explains that he was wet enough to slip on the floor but did not have wet hair when detectives arrived. He'd literally just stepped into the shower when he heard the gun go off, so he had stepped out before getting his whole body wet. As for the endless lies to both law enforcement and his parents, Keith says he lied to detectives because he was not represented by a lawyer. He also did not want to tarnish his wife's name by telling everyone about her meth use. In other words, he'd allowed himself to violently end her life, but drew the line at sullying her reputation. The state demolished his claim of self-defense. They pointed out the domestic abuse, the endless lies he had already told, that Brandy had been at a neighbor's house the day before and showed no signs of being delusional. The medical examiner testified that the amount of methamphetamine found in Brandy's blood in her toxicology report were nowhere near the levels that would cause someone to lose control of their faculties or become delusional or aggressive. The trial only lasted 4 days. On October the 28th, 2021, the jury took just under 3 hours to come to a verdict for Keith Johansson. Guilty of first-degree premeditated murder.
We, the jury, find the defendant Keith John Johansson as follows to count 1 of the indictment. Guilty as charged as the crime of first-degree murder.
Keith Johansson was a man who used control, intimidation, and violence to...
Indeed, he did. Indeed, he did. Oh, shit.
And Boromir of Gondor and Aragorn the Traveller.
And one hobbit,
Cried Merry.
Not all of us look on boats as wild horses. My people live by the banks of the Brandywine.
That is well, said Celeborn. Then I will furnish your company with boats. They must be small and light, for if you go far by water, there are places where you will be forced to carry them. You will come to the rapids of Sarn-Gebir, and maybe at last to the great falls of Rauros, where the river thunders down from Nenhithel. And there are other perils. They will not give you counsel. In the end you must leave them and the river and turn west or east. Aragorn thanked Celeborn many times. The gift of boats comforted him much, not least because there would now be no need to decide his course for some days. The others too looked more hopeful. Whatever perils lay ahead, it seemed better to float down the broadside of Anduin to meet them than to plod forward with bent backs. Only Sam was doubtful. He at any rate still thought boats as bad as wild horses, or worse. And not all the dangers that he had survived made him think better of them. All shall be prepared for you and await you at the haven before noon tomorrow, said Celeborn. I will send my people to you in the morning to help you make ready for the journey. Now we will wish you all a fair night and untroubled sleep. Good night, friends, said Galadriel. Sleep in peace. Do not trouble your hearts overmuch with thought of the road tonight. Maybe the paths that you each shall tread are already laid before your feet, though you do not see them. Good night. The company now took their leave and returned to their pavilion. Legolas went with them, for this was to be their last night in Lothlorien, and in spite of the words of Galadriel, they wished to take counsel together. For a long time they debated what they should do, and how it would be best to attempt the fulfilling of their purpose with the ring. But they came to no decision. It was plain that most of them desired to go first to Minas Tirith, and to escape at least for a while from the terror of the enemy. They would have been willing to follow a leader over the river and into the shadow of Mordor, but Frodo spoke no word, and Aragorn was still divided in his mind. His own plan, while Gandalf remained with them, had been to go with Boromir, and with his sword help to deliver Gondor. For he believed that the message of the dreams was a summons, and that the hour had come at last when the heir of Elendil should come forth and strive with Sauron for the mastery. But in Moria the burden of Gandalf had been laid on him, and he knew that he could not now forsake the ring, if Frodo refused in the end to go with Boromir. And yet what help could he or any of the company give to Frodo, save to walk blindly with him into the darkness? I shall go to Minas Tirith, alone if need be, for it is my duty, said Boromir, and after that he was silent for a while, sitting with his eyes fixed on Frodo, as if he was trying to read the halfling's thoughts. At length he spoke again, softly, as if he was debating with himself. And if you wish only to destroy the ring, he said, then there is little use in war and weapons, and the men of Minas Tirith cannot help. But if you wish to destroy the armed might of the Dark Lord, then it is folly to go without force into his domain, and folly to throw away. He paused suddenly, as if he had become aware that he was speaking his thoughts aloud. It would be folly to throw lives away, I mean. It is a choice between defending a strong place and walking openly into the arms of death. At least, that is how I see it. Frodo caught something new and strange in Boromir's glance as he looked hard at him. Plainly, Boromir's thought was different from his final words. It would be folly to throw away what? The Ring of Power. He had said something like this at the council, but he had accepted the correction of Elrond. Frodo looked at Aragorn, but he seemed deep in his own thought and made no sign that he had heeded Boromir's words. And so their debate ended. Merry and Pippin were already asleep, and Sam was nodding. The night was growing old. In the morning, as they were beginning to pack their slender goods, elves that could speak their tongue came to them and brought them many gifts of food and clothing for the journey. The food was mostly in the form of very thin cakes made of meal that was baked a light brown from the outside, and inside was the color of cream. Gimli took up one of the cakes and looked at it with doubtful eye. "Crap," he said under his breath, as he broke off a crisp corner and nibbled at it. His expression quickly changed, and he ate the rest of the cake with relish.
No more, no more,
cried the elves, laughing.
You have eaten enough already for a long day's march.
I thought this was only a kind of crab, such as the Dale men make for journeys in the wild,
said the dwarf.
So it is,
they answered.
But we call it lambus, or waybread, and it is more strengthening than any food made by men, and it is more pleasant than cram, by all accounts.
Indeed it is,
said Gimli.
I could go for some lammas bread.
It is better than the honey cakes of the Beornings, and that is great praise, for the Beornings are the best bakers that I know of, but they are none too willing to deal out their cakes to travellers in these days. You are kindly hosts.
All the same, we bid you spare the food, they said. Eat a little at a time and only at need, for these things are given to serve you when all else fails. The cakes will keep sweet for many, many days, if they are unbroken and left in their leaf wrappings as we have brought them. One will keep a traveller on his feet for a day of long labour, even if he be one of the tall men of Minas Tirith.
The elves next unwrapped and gave to each of the company the clothes that they brought. For each they had provided a hood and cloak, made according to his size, of the light but warm silken stuff that the Galadrim wove. It was hard to say of what colour they were. Twilight under the trees they seemed to be, and yet if they were moved or set in another light, they were green as the shadowed leaves, or brown as fallow fields by night, dusk silver as water under the stars. Each cloak was fastened above the neck with a brooch like a green leaf veined with silver.
Are these magic cloaks?
asked Pippin, looking at them with wonder.
I do not know what you mean by that,
answered the leader of the elves.
They are fair garments, and the web is good, for it was made in this land.
They are elvish robes, certainly, if that is what you mean. Leaf and branch, water and stone, they are the hue and beauty of all these things under the twilight of Lorien that we love. For we put the thought of all that we love into all that we make. Yet they are garments, not armour, and they will not turn shaft or blade. But they should serve you well. They are light to wear, and warm enough or cool enough at need. And you will find them a great aid in keeping out the sight of unfriendly eyes, whether you walk among the stones or the trees. You are indeed high in the favour of the lady, for she herself and her maidens wove this stuff, and never before have we clad strangers in the garb of our own people. After their morning meal, the company said farewell to the lawn by the fountain. Their hearts were heavy, for it was a fair place, and it had become like home to them, though they could not count the days and nights that they had passed there. As they stood for a moment looking at the white water in the sunlight, Haldir came walking towards them over the green grass of the glade. Frodo greeted him with delight.
I have returned from the northern fences,
said the elf,
and I am sent now to be your guide again. The Dimril Dale is full of vapour and clouds of smoke, and the mountains are troubled. There are noises in the deeps of the earth.
If any of you had thought of returning northwards to your homes, you would not have been able to pass that way. But come, your path now goes south. As they walked through Karas Galathon, the green ways were empty. But in the trees above them many voices were murmuring and singing. They themselves went silently. At last Haldir led them down the southward slopes of the hill, and they came again to the great gate hung with lamps, and to the white bridge. And so they passed out and left the city of the elves. Then they turned away from the paved road and took a path that went off into a deep thicket of malon trees, and passed on, winding through rolling woodlands of silver shadow, leading them ever down, southwards and eastwards, towards the shores of the river. They had gone some 10 miles, and noon was at hand when they came on a high green wall. Passing through an opening, they came suddenly out of the trees. Before them lay a long lawn of shining grass, studded with golden Eleanor that glinted in the sun. The lawn ran out into a narrow tongue between bright margins. On the right and west the Silverlode flowed glittering. On the left and east of the great river rolled its broad waters, deep and dark. On the further shores, the woodlands still marched on southwards, as far as the eye could see. But all the banks were bleak and bare. No Malon lifted its gold-hung boughs beyond the land of Lorien. On the bank of the Silverlode, at some distance up from the meeting of the streams, there was a height of white stones and white wood. By it were moored many boats and barges. Some were brightly painted and shone with silver and gold and green, but most were either white or grey. 3 small grey boats had been made ready for the travellers, and in these the elves stowed their goods, and they added also coils of rope, 3 to each boat. Slender they looked, but strong, silken to the touch, grey of hue like the elven cloaks.
What are these?
Asked Sam, handling one that lay upon the greensward.
Ropes indeed,
answered an elf from the boats.
Never travel far without rope, and one that is long and strong and light. Such are these.
They may be a help in many needs.
You don't need to tell me that,
said Sam.
I came without any, and I've been worried ever since. But I was wondering what these were made of, knowing a bit about rope making. It's in the family, as you might say.
They are made of heathline, said the elf. But there is no time now to instruct you in the art of their making. Had we known that this craft delighted you, we would have taught you much. But now, alas, unless you should at some time return hither, you must be content with our gift. May it serve you well. Come, said Haldir. All is now ready for you. Enter the boats, but take care at first. Heed the words, said the other elves.
Almost.
These boats
83?
are light built, and they are crafty and unlike the boats of other folk. They will not sink, lay them as you will, but they are wayward if mishandled. It would be wise if you accustomed yourself to stepping in and out, here where there is landing place, before you set off downstream. The company was arranged this way. Aragorn, Frodo and Sam were in one boat, Boromir, Merry and Pippin in another, and in the third were Legolas and Gimli, who had now become fast friends. In this last boat, most of the goods and packs were stowed. The boats were moved and steered with short-handled paddles that had broad leaf-shaped blades.
No way.
When all was ready, Aragorn led them on a trial up the Silverlode. The current was swift, and they went forward slowly. Sam sat in the bows, clutching the sides and looking back wistfully to the shore. The sunlight glittering on the water dazzled his eyes. As they passed beyond the green field of the tongue, the trees drew down into the river's brink. Here and there golden leaves tossed and floated onto the rippling stream. The air was very bright and still, and there was a silence, except for the high distant song of larks. They turned a sharp bend in the river, and there, sailing proudly down the stream towards them, they saw a swan of great size. The water rippled on either side of the white breast beneath its curving neck. Its beak shone like burnished gold, and its eyes glinted like jets set in yellow stones. Its huge white wings were half lifted. A music came down the river as it drew nearer, and suddenly they perceived that it was a ship, wrought and carved with elven skill in the likeness of a bird. 2 elves clad in white steered it with black paddles. In the midst of the vessel sat Celeborn, and behind him stood Galadriel, tall and white. A circlet of golden flowers was in her hair, and in her hand she held a harp, and she sang. Sad and sweet was the sound of her voice, in the cool, clean air. I sang of leaves, leaves of gold, and leaves of gold there grew. Of wind I sang, a wind there came and in the branches blew. Beyond the sun, beyond the moon, the foam was on the sea, and by the strand of Ilmarinen there grew a golden tree. Beneath the stars of Ever-Eve, in Eldamar it shone, in Eldamar besides the walls of Elventirion. There long the golden leaves have grown upon the branching years, while here beyond the sundering seas now fall the elven tears. O Lorien, the winter comes, the bare and leafless day. The leaves are falling in the stream, the river flows away. O Lorien, too long I have dwelt upon this hither shore, and in a fading crown have twined the golden Eleanor. But if of ships I now should sing, what ship would come to me? What ship would bear me ever back across so wide a sea? Aragorn stayed his boat as the swan ship drew alongside. The lady ended her song and greeted them. "We have come to bid our last farewell," she said, "and to speed you with blessings from our land." "Though you have been our guests," said Celeborn, "you have not yet eaten with us, and we bid you, therefore, here between the flowing waters that will bear you far from Lorien." The swan passed on slowly to the height, and they turned their boats and followed it. There in the last end of Egladil upon the green grass the parting feast was held, but Frodo ate and drank little, heeding only the beauty of the lady and her voice. She seemed no longer perilous or terrible, nor filled with hidden power. Already she seemed to him, as of men of later days elves still at times are seen, present and yet remote, a living vision of what which has already been left far behind by the flowing streams of time. After they had eaten and drunk, sitting upon the grass, Celeborn spoke to them again of their journey, and lifting his hand he pointed south to the woods beyond the tongue. "As you go down the water," he said, "you will find that the trees will fail, and you will come to a barren country. There the river flows in stony vales amid high moors, until at last, after many leagues, it comes to the tall island of the Tindrock, that we call Tol Brandir. There it casts its arms about the steep shores of the isle, and falls then with a great noise and smoke over the cataracts of Rauros, down into the Nindalf. The Wetwang, as it is called in your tongue. That is a wide region of sluggish fen when the stream becomes tortuous and much divided. There the Entwash flows in by many mouths of the forest of Fanghorn in the west. About that stream on the side of the great river lies Rohan. On the further side are the bleak hills of the Eminmuil. The wind blows from the east there, for they look out over the dead marshes and the no-man lands of Cirith Gorgor and the black gates of Mordor. Boromir and any that go with him seeking Minas Tirith will do well to leave the great river above Rauros and cross the Entwash before it finds the marshes. Yet they should not go too far up that stream, nor risk becoming entangled in the forest of Fangorn. That is a strange land, and is now little known. But Boromir and Aragorn doubtless do not need this warning. "Indeed, we have heard of Fangorn in Minas Tirith," said Boromir. "But what I have heard seems to me for the most part of old wives' tales, such as we tell to our children. All that lies north of Rohan is now so far away that fancy can wander freely there. Of old Fanghorn lay upon the borders of our realm, but it is now many lives of men since any of us visited it. To prove or disprove the legends that came true, that have come down from distant years. I have myself been at times in Rohan, but I have never crossed it northwards. When I was sent out as a messenger, I passed through the gap by the skirts of the mountains, and crossed the Eisen and the Greyflood into Northerland. A long and wearisome journey. 400 leagues I reckoned it, and it took me many months, for I lost my horse at Tarbad, at the fording of the Greyflood. After that journey and the road I have trodden with this company, I do not much doubt that I shall find a way through Rohan, and Fangorn too, if need be." "Then I need say no more," said Celeborn. "But do not despise the Lord that has come down from distant years. For oft it may chance that old wives keep in memory word of things that once were needful for the wise to know. Now Galadriel rose from the grass, and taking a cup from one of her maidens, she filled it with white mead and gave it to Celeborn. Now is the time to drink the cup of farewell, she said. Drink, Lord of the Galadrim, and let not your heart be sad, though night must follow noon, and already our evening draweth nigh. Then she brought the cup to each of the company, and bade them drink and farewell. But when they had drunk, she commanded them to sit again on the grass. And chairs were set for her and for Celeborn. Her maidens stood silent about her, and a while she looked upon her guests. At last she spoke again. We have drunk the cup of parting, she said, and the shadows fall between us. Before you go, I've brought in my ship gifts, which the Lord and Lady of Galadrim now offer you in memory of Lothlorien. Then she called to each in turn. Here is the gift of Celeborn and Galadriel to the leader of your company, she said to Aragorn. And she gave him a sheath that had been made to fit his sword. It was overlaid with tracery of flowers and leaves wrought of silver and gold, and on it were set in elven runes formed of many gems the name Anduril, and the lineage of the sword.
Yeah, bro.
The blade that is drawn from this sheath shall not be stained or broken, even in defeat, she said. But is there aught else that you desire of me at our parting? For darkness will flow between us, and it may be that we shall not meet again, unless it be far hence upon a road that has no returning. And Aragorn answered, Lady, you know all my desire, and long held in keeping the only treasure that I seek. Yet it is not yours to give me, even if you would, and only through darkness shall I come to it. Yet maybe this will lighten your heart, said Galadriel, for it was left in my care to be given to you, should you pass through this land. Then she lifted from her lap a great stone of clear green, set in a silver brooch that was wrought in the likeness of an eagle with outspread wings. And as she held it up, the gem flashed like the sun shining through the leaves of spring. This stone I gave to Celebrian, my daughter, and she to hers, and now it comes to you as a token of hope. In this hour take the name that was foretold for you, Elessar, the elf stone of the house of Elendil. Then Aragorn took the stone and pinned the brooch upon his breast, and those who saw him wondered, for they had not marked before how tall and kingly he stood, and it seemed to them that many years of toil had fallen from his shoulders. For the gifts that you have given me, I thank you, he said. O Lady of Lorien, of whom were sprung Celebrian and Arwen Evenstar, what praise could I say more? The lady bowed her head, and she turned then to Boromir, and to him she gave a belt of gold, and to Merry and Pippin she gave small silver belts, each with a clasp wrought like a golden flower. To Legolas she gave a bow such as the Galadrim use, longer and stouter than the bows of Mirkwood, and strung with a string of elf hair. With it went a quiver of arrows. For you, little gardener and lover of trees, she said to Sam, I have only a small gift. She put into his hands a little box of plain grey wood, unadorned save for a single silver rune upon the lid. Here is set G for Galadriel, she said, but also it may stand for garden in your tongue. In this box there is earth from my orchard, and such blessings as Galadriel has still to bestow is upon it. It will not keep you on your road, nor defend you against any peril, but if you keep it and see your home again at last, then perhaps it may reward you. Though you should find all barren and laid waste, there will be few gardens in Middle-earth that will bloom like your garden, if you sprinkle this earth there. Then you may remember Galadriel, and catch a glimpse far off of Lorien, that you have seen only in our winter. For our spring and our summer are gone, and they will never be seen on earth again, save in memory. Sam went red to the ears and muttered something inaudible, as he clutched the box and bowed as well as he could. And what gift for the dwarf? Ask of the elves, said Galadriel, turning to Gimli.
None, lady, answered Gimli. It is enough for me to have seen the Lady of the Galadriel, and to have heard her gentle words.
Hear, all ye elves, she cried to those about her. Let none say again that dwarves are grasping and ungracious. Yet surely, Gimli, son of Gloin, you desire something that I could give. Name it, I bid you. You shall not be the only guest without a gift.
There is nothing, Lady Galadriel, said Gimli, bowing low and stammering. Nothing, unless it is permitted to ask, nay, to name a single strand of your hair, which surpasseth the gold of the earth as the stars surpass the gems of the mine. I do not ask for such a gift. But you commanded me to name my desire.
The elves stirred and murmured with an astonishment, and Celeborn gazed at the dwarf in wonder. But the lady smiled. It is said that the skill of the dwarves is in their hands rather than in their tongues, she said. Yet that is not true of Gimli. For none have ever made to me a request so bold, and yet so courteous. And how shall I refuse, since I commanded him to speak? But tell me, what would you do with such a gift?
Treasure it, lady, he answered, in memory of your words to me at our first meeting. And if ever I return to the smithies of my home, it shall be set in imperishable crystal, to be an heirloom of my house, and a pledge of goodwill between the mountain and the woods, until the end of days.
Then the lady unbraided one of her longest tresses, and cut off 3 golden hairs, and laid them in Gimli's hand. These words shall go with the gift, she said. I do not foretell, for all foretelling is now in vain. On the one hand lies darkness, and on the other only hope. But if hope should not fail, then I say to you, Gimli, son of Gloin, that your hands shall flow with gold, and yet over you gold shall have no dominion. And you, ring-bearer, she said, turning to Frodo, I come to you last, who are not last in my thoughts. For you I have prepared this. She held up a small crystal phial. It glittered as she moved it, and rays of white light sprang from her hand. In this phial, she said, is caught the light of Erendil's star, set amid the waters of my fountain. It will shine still brighter when the night is about you. May it be a light to you in dark places, when all other lights go out. Remember Galadriel and her mirror. Frodo took the phial, and for a moment as it shone between them, he saw her again standing like a queen, great and beautiful, but no longer terrible. He bowed, but found no words to say. Now the lady arose, and Celeborn led them back to the Hythe. A yellow noon lay upon the green land of the tongue, and the water glittered with silver. All at last was made ready. The company took their places in the boats as before, crying farewell. The elves of Lorien with long grey poles thrust them out into the flowing stream, and the rippling waters bore them slowly away. The travellers sat still without moving or speaking. On the green bank near to the very point of the tongue, the Lady Galadriel stood alone and silent. As they passed her, they turned, and their eyes watched her slowly floating away from them. For so it seemed to them, Lorien was slipping backwards, like a bright ship masted with enchanted trees sailing on to forgotten shores, while they sat helpless upon the margin of the grey and leafless world. Even as they gazed, the silver load passed out into the currents of the great river, and their boats turned and began to speed southward. Soon the white form of the lady was small and distant. She shone like a window of glass upon a far hill in the westerning sun, or as a remote lake seen from a mountain, a crystal fallen in the lap of the land. Then it seemed to Frodo that she lifted her arms in a final farewell, and far but piercing clear on the following wind came the sound of her voice singing. But now she sang in the ancient tongue of the elves beyond the sea, and he did not understand the words. Fair was the music, but it did not comfort him. Yet, as is the way with elvish words, they remained graven in his memory, and long afterwards he interpreted them as well as he could. The language was that of the elven song, and spoke of things little known on Middle-earth. Ai lauria lanter lassi surien. Jeni uio nottime vevraner alderon. Jeni velinte julderan varier mior mardi, lisse miro vureva. Andune pella vardo telumar nuluini, jassen tintilariellini. Mario arrientari lirien. Si mani julmaninen quantuva. Ansi tintale vardo oiolosseo. Vefagnar mariat elentari ortane. Ar irietti rundulave lumbule. Ar sinda noriello caita morniei falmalinari imbemet. Ar hissie. Untupa calakirio mirioiale. Si vanwana. Romelo vanwa valimar. Namarie. Nai hiruvalje valimar. Naelje hiruval. Namarie. Ah. Like gold fall the leaves in the wind, long years numberless, as the wings of the trees. The years have passed like swift draughts of sweet mead in softly holes beyond the west, beneath the blue vaults of Varda, where the stars tremble in the song of her voice, holy and queenly. Who now shall refill the cup for me? For now the kindler, Varda, the queen of the stars, from Mount Everwhite has uplifted her hands like clouds, and all paths are drowned deep in shadow, and out of a grey country darkness lies on the foaming waves between us. And mist covers the jewels of Kelasiria forever. Now lost to those from the eastern is Valimar. Farewell. Maybe thou shalt find Valimar. Maybe even thou shalt find it. Farewell. Varda is the name of that lady whom the elves in these lands of exile name Elbereth. Suddenly the river swept around a bend, and the banks rose upon either side, and the light of Lorien was hidden. To that fair land Frodo never came again. The travellers now turned their faces to the journey. The sun was before them, and their eyes were dazzled, for all were filled with tears. Gimli wept openly.
I have looked last upon that which was fairest,
he said to Legolas, his companion.
Henceforward I will call nothing fair unless it be her gift.
He put his hand on his breast.
Tell me, Legolas, why did I come on this quest? Little did I know where the chief peril lay. Truly Elrond spoke, saying that he could not foresee what we might meet upon our road. Torment in the dark was the danger that I feared, and it did not hold me back. But I would not have come had I known the danger of light and joy. Now I have taken my worst wound in this party, even if I were to go this night straight to the Dark Lord. Alas for Gimli, son of Gloin.
Nay, said Legolas. Alas for us all, and for all that walk the world in these after days, for such is the way of it.
Come on, we need to get 9 more of these motherfuckers. Let's go.
Those whose boat is on the running stream. But I count you blessed, Gimli, son of Gloin. For your loss you suffer on your own free will, and you might have chosen otherwise. But you have not forsaken your companions, and the least reward that you shall have is that the memory of Lothlorien shall remain ever clear and unstained in your heart, and shall neither fade nor grow stale.
Maybe, said Gimli, and I thank you for your words. True words, doubtless. Yet all such comfort is cold. Memory is not what the heart desires. That is only a mirror, be it clear as Keled Zara. Or so says the heart of Gimli the dwarf. Elves may see things otherwise. Indeed, I have heard that from their memory is more like to the waking world than to a dream. Not so for dwarves. But let us talk no more of it. Look to the boat. She is too low in the water with all this baggage, and the great river is swift. I do not wish to drown my grief in cold water.
He took up a paddle and steered towards the western bank, following Aragorn's boat ahead, which had already moved out of the little stream. So the company went on their long way, down the wide hurrying waters, borne ever southwards. Bare woods stalked on along either bank, and they could not see any glimpse of the lands behind. The breeze died away and the river flowed without a sound. No voice of bird broke the silence. The sun grew misty as the day grew old, until it gleamed in the pale sky like a high white pearl. Then it faded into the west, and dusk came early, followed by a grey and starless night. Far into the dark, quiet hours they floated on,
guiding their boats under the overhanging shadows of the western woods. Great trees passed by like ghosts, thrusting their twisted, thirsty roots through the mist down into the water. It was dreary and cold. Frodo sat and listened to the faint lap and gurgle of the river fretting amongst the tree roots and the driftwood near the shore, until his head nodded, and he fell into an uneasy sleep. Frodo was roused by Sam. He found that he was lying, well-wrapped, under tall grey-skinned trees in a quiet corner of the woodlands on the west bank of the great river, Anduin. He had slept the night away, and the grey morning was dim among the bare branches. Gimli was busy with
Okie dokie, baby. Alright, chat. I'm gonna go make something to eat. Fucking 11 o'clock. I gotta eat something. Appreciate y'all. You know? Short little 3-hour stream. Know how it goes. Aaron, appreciate the $20 dono today. That was absolutely legendary. God bless. $20 fucking dono. Absolute legend. Absolute legend. Appreciate it. Look at all those herbs. The herb. Alright, anyway. Peace out.